What is up, everybody, and welcome to Grinderslive, the NBA edition. In the afternoon, we're here to walk you through today's NBA games, nice and early for you. So we appreciate you tuning in. Sit back, relax, fire up your questions, get them all in chat. We're going to answer them all. I'm your host, Head Chopper, and joined by the man himself. He goes by, I guess his birth certificate says Will Priester. We like to call him the coach or the chief Priester, chief coach Priester, whatever you want to call him. The man's got a lot of different titles out there. Will, how are you enjoying your I don't even know if you celebrate this. 420 is a holiday for some people. Are you enjoying your 420 holiday, man? Any party goods for the chief today? Any extra party goods?
No. Just another nice, beautiful day in the neighborhood with Mr. Rogers. Nothing crazy. Grinding some DFS. Got a show tonight. Cardstock After Lot. Gonna be talking some Top Shot.
You remind me of something I was gonna ask you, man.
Yeah,
Did you get in on the Topps NFT this afternoon?
No, I did not. I actually let that one go. I'm gonna focus on Top Shot for now. And I don't have anything against the Topps NFT product, but I think I'm just going to stick with Top Shot and my cardboard for now. And then because you know how this goes, Chop, they're releasing it right now during the season. It's going to be through the roof. Yeah. In the off season, I'll hop on in and scoop up what I need to scoop up. It's just how it is.
Yeah, I mean, I tried this afternoon, but website, man, you guys, come on, guys. Website not functioning for everybody. It's like, these guys, man, I don't know who's building these websites, but get it together, guys. Then Top Shots, you've been around for months now, Top Shot. Come on now. You got to get your stuff together too, man. But
I think they're going to be coming out of beta real soon.
Let's hope so, man. But Topps ran into some troubles this afternoon, so I couldn't get anything, but I'll try again some other time. That's what happens. It's the way it rolls. But I tell you what's going good is my Dak Prescott sales. They're flying off the shelves, man. I can't hold on to my Dak Prescotts, man. What's up?
Hey, yeah, man. So here's somebody that was hot for me for a little stretch. I felt like every day somebody was buying. It was for me this season, which I had a lot of them, and I did it on purpose. But it was RJ Barrett. I went through like a 2-week period one day where I felt like I was selling to RJ every couple of hours. I was like, man, this is fantastic, especially considering I bought 10 or 12 of those pieces over the summer with the intent to sell anyway. And then if you're in the star stock, I loaded up on Julius Randle early in the season, and I sold a lot of his product for a good profit. There's some things on Top Shot that I'm going to hold on to, but on Star Stock I'm going to hold on to. But those were some that I was definitely willing to let go, and they came in handy.
Yeah, those New York markets, man. Those fans love their cards out there. You get a team finally back in contention, and then stuff starts flying. RJ Barrett is definitely one of them. So that's all good. So the cardboard industry is not dead, guys. It's thriving, man. It's there. Yeah. So you know what? It's Tuesday. There's like you said, there's a card show tonight, man. We're gonna talk about some cards tonight, but we're gonna talk about some basketball today, though. Before we get into all that, though, I just want to remind you guys of some of the promos going on out there. The RG Premium 5 for $5 is back. We're running that promo back. That's 5 days for $5. Such a good deal. But you know what? It ends on April 23rd, so you got to get in right now, or else it's going to be gone by the end of this week. April 23rd falls on a Friday, so that's this Friday. Will, you know how I know that's a Friday?
How's that?
Because April 23rd, Friday, April 23rd, this week is when Mortal Kombat comes out on HBO Max, man. Oh, that's
Watch
a good
out.
movie. That's a good movie night right there. That's a good movie. I'm gonna whip up some popcorn with some M&Ms and
yeah, man.
watch a little Mortal Kombat on HBO Max, man. Looks fun. So that's on Friday, guys. Five for $5. Get in on that, guys. So
it sounds like M&Ms is your movie candy of choice.
let me tell you what I figured out a couple years ago. I love me some popcorn. So I get my popcorn, I sprinkle some M&Ms right over the top of the popcorn.
Little garnish.
Every once in a while, you get a mouthful of popcorn and you bite into the chocolate M&M and it explodes in your mouth. It's wonderful.
Oh, man.
That's nice. Some people use candy. I prefer M&M. It's so good. It's so good. But that's what I like to do, man. That's what I like to do to my popcorn, man. Sprinkle a little something on there. But we got that going on 5 for $5, guys. This is going to be fun stuff. Get in on that. That's a really good deal, though. But also, I was told about free crunch time today because we got so many things going on. I'm going to kind of save this one for. I want you guys to hit the like button. I want you guys you guys to fire up some questions today. Let this thing be very interactive. If you do that for me, I'm going to get on the phone with Dan Bach. And I'm gonna get him to give y'all some free crunch time today. I'm gonna pull the strings on that one, but I need some crowd interaction here. We need some questions. We need some good questions, all that good stuff. We got SBK coming on here. I don't know, about 10 minutes or so. We'll see if he's awake or not yet. But if he comes on here, you guys fire some questions for him if you got any. So we can get all that done. Chief, we're here. We're on a 5-game slate. It's late in the season. There's a lot of moving parts in NBA these days. Talk to me about. Let's talk about some strategy type of stuff going on here. But before SBK comes in, let's talk of some strategy, because this time of year, your strategy and the way you play could mean the difference between winning and losing a lot more than just the players, because the players sometimes are defined right there. They're right in front of you, and there's nothing you can do to get away from them, no matter how chalky they are. They're just right there. So let's talk about. I want to talk about game selection first. Yep. Coming from you right now, how are you playing at this time of year? Are you a GPP guy? Are you a cash game guy? If you are playing cash games, what kind of are they heads up? Are they 50-50? Talk to me about your game selection here in late April when the season is as crazy as it is right now.
So for me right now, Chop, especially the past couple of weeks, I've dialed back my MME play a little bit, and that's personal preference. Now, personal preference. Because I do think it's a great time to utilize the MME strategy. The thing for me, though, is I got things I like to do, Chop. Sometimes I want to watch WWE on Monday at 8 p.m. And I don't want to be on my computer hitting these buttons all night. So when it gets crazy like this, man, I've really probably converted over to mostly single entry, your high stakes single entry. And what I do, and some people may not do this, I've been running one lineup a night, Chop. One lineup a night, and I run it in everything though. Because here's what I'm not going to do, and I talked about this on the morning grind. In the event in NBA that I ever luck box and run a single entry that takes down everything, I don't want to be sitting here with my few $1,000s in my hand from these single entry contests. I want my extra 70,000 added to my bank account. So, let's say I'm in the 222 on FanDuel, the single entry. I'm going to play in that one, the $100 single entry, the $50 single entry, the $25, the $10, the $5. I'm going to play in the $4, the slam dunk, the $9, the $15, the $12. I'm going to be in everything. I'm going to run one lineup, but I'm going to have it in every contest that I want to put it in, because I don't want to leave money on the table if I happen to kind of get close, even if I get close to the nuts. And like you said, you mentioned contest selection. Here's another thing you got to understand. I can hit the nuts or be close to the nuts in the $44 on FanDuel. I think it's $66 tonight, actually. And I might get close to taking it down. Like, I think up top is maybe 20K. What if I build a lineup that's good enough to come in third? That's going to be what, probably about 5K chop, 7K, something like that. In the $4, that lineup might finish at 1,000. So my little $4 investment, I might get $12 back. So, it's just, so you got to think about that when you're trying to build. Now, and there's reasons for that. For those of you that don't know, and I know this seems elementary, but in the $66, I think there's only going to be probably 2,000 or less entries tonight. Versus the $4, you're going to have 50,000 plus. So there's reasons why it doesn't matter sometimes if you hit the nuts. It's got to be perfect. That's why we always say you can build. You got to be good enough to be profitable. You got to understand how to build, but it also takes some luck to get all the way to the top. And I know that. I'm fully aware. So that's kind of where I am at this point in the season. A lot less MME because I don't want to sit in front of my computer all night. A lot more single entry.
I think that's a really good point right there. If you're not willing to put in the time, don't sign up for 150 lineups, guys, at this time of year, because it's boy, it could keep you there all night long. I mean, listen, there's the guys who do this and they make their money out of this. They're sitting in front of their computer and they're grinding this thing to that tip off of that very last game. They've got a leg up on that MME on you if you're not willing to put in the time. So that brings me to one point I would make is one of the things I do on an NBA slate this time of year, I'm always looking right away. First thing I look at is how many games are tonight. Let me see how many games are tonight. Oh, yeah. And then I see what time do these games start? All of them. Tonight is a good example. We got 5 games. 3 of them start right away. 6:30 they start. The next 2 at 9 o'clock. All right. If you're gonna mass multi-entry, you're gonna have to be prepared to be there till 9 o'clock tonight. And you're gonna have to do that. That also gives you an advantage if you are willing to be there, because now you can swap things out and you can have lineups and load up on the late games and just wait for them and wait for the late news and hope the first games don't go off so bad. And there's a lot of things there, but that creates a good late swap. But 9 o'clock games, you better be prepared, man, to stick by your computer. So but if I look and I say, wow, everything starts within about an hour of each other. The games kick off at 6 Central Time and the last game on the board is maybe 8 Central Time. That's not that bad. All right, maybe I can run 100 lineups tonight. So the time of the games, that's the second thing I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So it matters. Is there anything else that stands out to you this time of year? Any other strategy you employ? What about that late swap I just mentioned? Like, how much are you using it? Are you intentionally leaving spots open on your team? Or are you just saying, look, the opto likes this guy X amount of times, I'm going to run this guy and I don't care what time the game started? Are you leaving spots open intentionally, waiting for that late Clippers news tonight or something like that?
Well, I think it depends on, for me, I think it depends on the situation, right? And I'm going to use last night as an example, because last night was, for all intents and purposes, it was nuts. There was news coming in, felt like every 5 minutes, all the way through lock. News. And here's kind of how I take that, right? I think you've got to be really convicted in who you know for sure that you want to play. Because let me tell you something, when all that news is coming out, how many times has 1,000 pieces of news come out, and then all of a sudden, the 1 or 2 guys you said you were going to play all day still go off, they're in the winning lineup, and suddenly you just don't have them at all, because all the news has just pushed you in a totally different direction, totally different build. So I think when it's this time of year, I'm not saying I won't ever consider all the news, but what I ask myself is it really worth it? And here's I'll use this as an example. Is it really worth it for me to take Russell Westbrook out of my lineups to play Karis LeVert at point guard on DK? Is it worth it? And you have to decide that, right? And so, last night, obviously, I played LeVert. This was more so on FanDuel. On DK, I would have never played LeVert over Russell Westbrook. But on FanDuel, I played LeVert. Didn't work out. Didn't really worry about it, right? Because, I'm just playing single entry, don't have, as much on the line. I don't want to say I don't care, but I'm not worried about it. But I'm saying those are the decisions that I feel like are huge decisions at this point in the game. When the news comes out, how am I going to react? And I know we've got if-then projections. I've got if-then lineups ready to go. And how I do it, Chop, especially if I'm going to multi-enter, if I feel comfortable with the slate, I still will. I will have 4 or 5 Excel tabs open. I have my main one where I'm going to take it and I'm going to say, hey, this is the build I want to go with. But if the news breaks this way, I'm going to take this bill. If it breaks this way, I'm going to take this. And that's kind of how I do it. So at a moment's notice, I can just copy and paste, put it in my CSV, load it up into the lineups, and I'm ready to go. I know SBK is here, so I'll be quiet.
Yeah, that's a good point, though. I've never actually done that, but that's something I could start doing, man. Is having that stuff ready to go like that. I like that. I like that idea. So it's a little bit of game strategy. Let's talk to SBK. I know this man's busy. I don't want to keep him on the line for long. SBK, what's up, brother, man?
Chop, I'll tell you, this is probably one of the slowest days I've had in a while. This is like one piece of kind of news we got.
Brother.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm enjoying it for right now, but I know the other shoe may drop in a couple hours.
Yeah, I got the timer on for you. 25 days and 20 hours until that first game of the last slate of the year tips off, SBK. 25 days, 20 hours, and you'll be out of the weeds, my brother. But we got.
Have you guys seen that? Have you seen that schedule for that last Sunday? It's every single team in the NBA playing. It's gonna be insane.
And that's going to be that's like a preseason, like fourth week football preseason game. It's just going to be a bunch of no names. You know what I mean? That's going to be a crazy. I don't even know. Yeah, it's going to be nuts. But that's it, man. Once they do that, then we get down to the nitty gritty. It's going to be fun after that. But so yeah, like you said, we don't have a ton of news that we didn't already know about strike us just yet in the afternoon. So just a couple situations to touch on here. I want to start off in the Portland game. No Lillard, no Nurkic tonight. We know that much. What are the chances we get Cantor unleashed here? How do you project his minutes tonight? Who do you project him splitting with? Or are we just going to see a full run from Cantor tonight?
So as of right now, we have Cantor projected for 34 minutes. That was, I believe I had him at 32 last night and was a little bit worried I might be low. So yeah, we kind of settled at 34, which given his current price, Nurkic has been, I guess, somewhat in and out of the lineup, missed a couple games, but Cantor's price has come down a decent bit. So where he's projected now, he's really looking like kind of one of the top point per dollar plays on the slate. In terms of who else will get center minutes, we have Giles projected for 8. So I'd imagine, outside of Cantor, they probably don't use a true center unless, they use Giles for some of those minutes. So we don't have a full 48 projected at the center spot for them. I imagine they probably spend a little bit of time going small. But yeah, Cantor definitely looking like a nice play. Norman Powell, I don't think he had a great game in his last time out. Still, a healthy performance, but I do like the upside with him. And obviously McCollum there as well, looking pretty nice.
Okay, so we're in that Portland game, and we know Portland's already pulled the trigger on sitting a couple of big guys for him, Lillard and Nurkic. Do you expect, or what are the odds would you lay on it that LA eventually answers back and rests one of, if not both of their stars?
I'm a little afraid of it. It's not something I'm anticipating happening right now, but just given how often it seems like lately that they'll just kind of drop that hammer on us like a half hour before tip. It's certainly in the realm of possibility, but we're not projecting it now. We do have them both projected for like a shade under their typical workload. I have them both at 34 minutes. I think if the spread was a little bit closer, probably 35. A pretty negligible change there. But so yeah, obviously, certainly worth keeping an eye on given that that's like one of the late starts here tonight. But yeah, as of right now, I'm not anticipating that happening, but it's a possibility.
Yeah, Chief, you got anything you want to jump in on here with?
Yeah, I do, man. I think this is a bigger deal than maybe, I thought it was going to be earlier today. SBK, how comfortable are you? Because right now, at least the last time I checked, we got D'Angelo Russell projected at 28 minutes. How comfortable are you with, say, a bump to 32 minutes, right? Like they've already said that he's going to play, upwards of 30. And I'm thinking about bumping him to 32, considering the fact that they're playing, Sacramento. I feel like he may have a little bit more upside. What's your read? I know it's just coach speak, but I'm thinking 32 minutes might be close. What's your read?
So it's interesting you bring that up. That's really the only kind of piece of news that we've had to this point yet. And I wasn't like that quote kind of concerned me in a couple ways, just given that over his last, I believe, 8 games, Russell's played 28 minutes once, and he's been below 26 in all of those other games. He's still coming off the bench, So that kind of also worries me for 32, 33 minutes. Like, does that happen for bench players? Certainly, but it's kind of rare. I think if he does play those 32 minutes, it probably comes from Okogie more than anybody else. But I mean, that, just further deteriorates any possible defense that they may play in this game. I wouldn't be shocked if Russell got to 30. We have him at 28 now, and I honestly was trying to push for having him a little bit lower than that. But some other people had opinions that he could be higher than 30. So that's kind of why we ended up there. I wouldn't hate putting him at 30 in the builds. I mean, I do think he has a very solid point per dollar upside, or point per minute, I should say. But yeah, I think he's going to be one of the more interesting guys to track tonight, whether that coach speak is actually real. He's going to play 30 plus minutes, or he's going to, still be in that 25, 26 range like he's been.
Okay. Thank you, sir. That helps me a lot.
Yeah,
Cool.
That helped us out all the way across the board, Steve. We don't have very much for you today, man. Light schedule, no big news. So we'll let you jump out of here, man.
All right, boys, have a good one.
Yes, sir. We appreciate you coming by. That was SBK with the projections team, running down a few things for us. We don't have a bunch of news, so we didn't have a bunch of questions for him, but everything helps, man. Everything helps. So let's recap real quick what we were talking about on the strategy aspect, guys. I think we both agree, me and Will, like your game selection. I'm not going to tell anybody this time of year they should play cash games, they should play GPPs, they should play this or that. But your game selection should reflect the amount of time you're willing to put into it after lock. That's all I can say about that. Whatever you select, you got to be willing. That one lineup, like Chief says, I'm definitely much more of a one lineup guy most of these nights because I don't want to be there till 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night messing around with lineups. So that one lineup makes it easy. So that's what you got to think about these things before you sign up for your games, guys. It makes a big difference. Let's talk about some injuries real quick. Let's recap some of the injuries we got going on. Atlanta's got a few injuries. Gallinari's the big one. The other guys, Hunter, Reddish, we've already seen what happens when they're out. So they're minus 13 against Orlando. That's just it's just a weird game, man. I don't know. We could talk about Orlando too. They're missing Terrence. They're going to miss Terrence Ross tonight. But they've shown no desire to win games here. They're in full tank mode. So,
and they're in the Cade Cunningham sweepstakes, Chop.
It is tough, man. Games like this are tough, man. Because even if it stays close, which is not even projected to stay close, even if it does, though, you don't know what you're going to get out of Orlando. They're like a guy could be doing well, and they're pulling because they don't want to win. It's weird. It's a weird thing going on in Atlanta. Then it's going to reflect in the Atlanta lineup. Trae Young could have 45 DraftKings points through 3 quarters and be looking great for the optimal. And then, all of a sudden he doesn't even play the 4th quarter because Orlando pulled all their guys and they ran away with it before he can get his next turn in the rotation. It's just I don't like games like that, but the other games are a little bit closer. So we got Brooklyn tonight. They're +3 against New Orleans. Brooklyn without James Harden, without Kevin Durant. Those are the 2 big ones. Durant with the thigh contusion on Sunday left that game. Boy, we hope he's all right because that's going to make for some good, compelling NBA playoffs if everybody's healthy, man. So yeah. You got those guys. And we're also getting Nicholas Claxton out tonight and Tyler Johnson. So talk to me, Chief, about this Brooklyn side. How does all that stuff affect you?
Well, I think for me with Brooklyn, I'm not going to play. I didn't intend to play a whole lot of guys from that side anyway. Clearly, Kyrie's going to be in play, but Kyrie is priced up. So, I mean, I think there's a little bit of a gap between FanDuel and DK, where on DK he's 9,900 and FanDuel he's 9,400. I think he's in play on either side, but you got to hope he gets 50 plus, and he's pretty much right at value on DK. Hitting 50, right? I mean, but you're gonna have to hope he scores about 40 real points to really give you the upside you're looking for. But I think he can get it in this matchup. Don't hate Bruce Brown, but I just feel like a lot of these guys are random. I feel like if I'm going to play a value play from this team, I'm looking at the ownership on Bruce Brown and Joe Harris. We were talking about strategy earlier. The strategy play is to take Landry Shamet. The guy's been on fire. And he just doesn't get ownership any, but it looks like from an ownership perspective, we're ready to play Bruce Brown, Joe Harris, and Blake Griffin. They only got 9 bodies, Chop. I think Landry Shamet is the value play from Brooklyn, because they really do need his scoring and versatility if they're going to win this game.
Man, you said it. The guy's on fire, and it's the streakiness of a three-point shooter. Look at Steph Curry. Steph Curry's not going to – well, I love Steph Curry. I think he's a great player. He's not going to shoot like this forever. He's on fire right now, right?
Yeah.
So is Shemai. Every time I watch the game recently, this guy's draining. He's just draining.
I think he put up 30 the other game, points, right?
That's how these outside shooters get, man. Sometimes the bucket just looks super, super wide for them, man. They can't miss. So, I agree with that, man. I think Joe Harris, another guy who can come up big tonight. All right, this next game that I was going to hit on with the injuries on the Charlotte side. They got some injuries, but the Knicks against Charlotte, boy, this has got to be like the premier game tonight because
Chop,
I just want to tell you, the Knicks are -5.5. The great thing about both these, first of all, Charlotte, they're trying to win. They're trying to get up in the playoffs with seeding and all that. But the Knicks also will answer them back by they won't rest people, they won't sit people out. They'll play their guys. Thibodeau will play these guys 40 minutes. I mean, it's just like this is as good as it gets this time of year on a slate like this. What about this? The Charlotte injuries? Hayward, Ball, Monk, Biyombo, all these guys out. What do you think about the Charlotte side? That's your team right there.
So here's the deal. You know I'm on standings watch the rest of the season. This is a big game for the Knicks, Chop. The Knicks are in the 6th seed right now. And the Hawks are playing tonight too, don't get me wrong. If the Knicks win this game, they're going to pass Boston. So Boston, if the Knicks win tonight, Boston will become the 6th seed. And if Atlanta loses, they're all going to be tied. I mean, the Knicks will pass Atlanta. So the Knicks will be 32-27. The Hawks will be 31-27. The Knicks will be squarely in play in the 4th seed. So I'm watching this because I think this is an important game to game. The Hornets need to win because they're in the 8th seed right now. Now they are 2.5 games ahead of the Pacers. So they're not, even if they lost tonight, the Pacers aren't creeping up on them. But this is still important because they have to keep winning because right now they're still in a playoff spot. So either way, I just want to kind of get that out of the way. Bottom line, I think Julius Randle's your guy on both sides. Both sides. And I know he's expensive on DK, but I know this team, he should have a field day against Charlotte. He's playing, about 38 minutes a game here recently. He's just the guy. He's worth every penny. On FanDuel, he's probably undervalued, I think. I think on FanDuel, he's 9,400. I think that's what he is, Chop. That's way under where he should be considering, the amount of upside he has in this spot. Julius Randle's, a fantastic play.
Yeah, that's the good thing about the Knicks, man. They're fighting, like you said, fighting for that positioning. Thibodeau don't rest guys. Randle looks like the stud of all studs tonight. RJ Barrett can be inefficient sometimes, but boy, he's going to get his minutes. He's going to get his run. Derrick Rose, props to Derrick Rose, still grinding away, man, in the NBA after he still looks good too. There are times he looks like the best guard out there for New York sometimes, man. And that's saying something. So he got all that going for you. What about your Charlotte team? Is the price too high yet on Rozier, or because he's flat out destroying people with Monk and these boys out?
I think it depends on whether or not Devontae Graham plays.
Okay.
If Devontae Graham is in, I don't think I can pay the price tag. If he's out, I'm getting real interested, like extremely interested, considering the upside he's been giving us. I mean, we just saw him drop a 60 spot the other night. I don't think he's going to do that against the Knicks for what it's worth, but that doesn't mean he can't get to 50. That doesn't mean he can't get to 48, 47, up in that range. If he gets there, he's still very playable. With him soaking up, a lot of shots in this team, very involved. And more importantly, Chop, he's basically Julius Randle for the Hornets. He's playing 38 minutes a game. I think, both of these guys are in play. Early games, you could probably start your lineup with these two guys. And if they both pop, I mean, you could be sitting at 120 points easy just off those two players alone.
You know who else is playing about 38, 39 minutes a game and doing really well and doesn't have to score a bunch of points to have you a good fantasy night? Miles Bridges, man. Yeah. Miles Bridges is doing his thing, and I don't see any reason why they wouldn't go back to that well again, man. While it's Knicks are not an easy matchup, but guys like Miles Bridges can still get it done because they do more than just score.
Now you're going to hear me rant. This is why I was so frustrated with this Gordon Hayward contract. I don't have anything against Gordon Hayward. I think Gordon Hayward is a great NBA player. Clearly, he's a good player. But injuries the past couple years, and we were letting all these young talent sit on the bench. They didn't learn anything from the Nicholas Batum situation. You see what I'm saying? Last year, if you look at this team, they unleashed the youngsters. They were playing Graham, PJ Washington, Rozier, Bridges, and we looked like a competent NBA team. And then we went and signed Gordon Hayward at the beginning of the year. You got Miles Bridges playing 15 to 20 minutes. And now he's been unleashed, and you see what the kid can do in this lineup. Now, yeah, we do still need and we do still need, maybe one more piece. We've got LaMelo there, right? We're overpaying Gordon Hayward when LaMelo is the star anyway. You see what happened to Gordon Hayward's numbers once LaMelo was starting? Down, down, down. Paying over $100 million for Gordon Hayward, and we got LaMelo Ball on a rookie contract who's the star anyway. This is NBA economics, and we dropped the ball again. In 3 years, we're going to be wishing we didn't sign Gordon Hayward to this contract because we may not even need him to start. Very frustrating. Yeah, I said all that to say, yeah, I like Miles Bridges.
Chief, it won't take you 3 years to wish Gordon Hayward wasn't on your team. It'll take you about 3 weeks to realize probably not a good contract. But
I don't dislike Gordon Hayward. It's this dumb contract. If we had him on a team-friendly contract, I'd be a lot more excited. Yeah, this is Nicholas Batum all over again.
It is a lot of money, man. The NBA, man, tell you what, the NBA, you get stuck with it, too. You don't get – football, you can cut a guy and be done with it, man, and they don't even get paid. But,
yeah, wash my hands.
Yeah, over here, you got to live with it for the length of that contract. All right. Well, you did get some good news today for your team. Some good news come out here the last couple of days. LaMelo Ball is going to try to come back this season. He's only about 7-10 days away from getting back in there. So that's a good thing. It's good for the NBA. It's going to make them more exciting in the playoffs. It's good for everybody out there who had a LaMelo Ball Rookie of the Year ticket with their sports book because, he was in danger of not getting there if he missed the rest of the season. And now he's going to come back, and there's a chance he gets that. So that's good. But that's the target game just based on everything we know about the two teams and what they're playing for tonight and how they usually play. So that's the targeted game. But we got one out there on the West Coast, Portland. Clippers are -7 because we got the Lillard and Nurkic news a while back that they're going to be out tonight. How does that affect? We had talked about Cantor a little bit, but what about the other guys for Portland? How does that affect them? And then what do you expect from LA on the run back here, man? Like, do you expect a blowout and maybe we can't use Leonard or George? And I mean, how's this game going to play out to you with those two injuries?
I'm actually not expecting a blowout. Portland's at home. As speaking of that, Chop, let's go on over to the betting side for a little bit. I love taking spots like this with the team at home, a little shorthanded, -7. I love to get some action on Portland +7 right now. That feels juicy to me. At any rate, I don't think it's completely a blowout here. I think Portland can hang in this game enough. And here's another thing, too, Chop, that I always think about. If a team wants to win and they're down one of their best players, the easiest way to stay competitive is when they take out Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, you just leave CJ McCollum in the game and let him keep cooking while the big guys are on the bench. And that's what I think they're going to do tonight, So I think, that's a little inside NBA coaching strategy there. They'll probably play Carmelo a few more minutes for scoring purposes. But I think this game is close. I think the big thing tonight, Chop, seriously, is what do we do with CJ McCollum? I think that's a bit, because look, is he good chalk? Yes. But on DK, he's 8,900. On FanDuel, he's 8,100. And he does have the upside. But at that price, how far are we away from starting to take the fade on CJ while Dame is out? On DK, I think we're at that spot where we can just take the fade and hope he doesn't burn us for like 55, right? On FanDuel, where he's 8,100, a lot more wiggle room. I think, he's still squarely in play. And I think the ownership is going to reflect that. But I'm telling you, and I know everybody probably looks at me and thinks, that's stupid, Chief. What are you doing? No, CJ McCollum is not bad chalk. But at 8,900, do I get a little bit more leverage by playing, Terry Rozier, who's only 2% more. But if I'm multi-entering, maybe I take the complete CJ fade and double up on my shares of Rozier. And now I've got more leverage on the field. If McCollum puts up a 40 spot, that's not going to hurt me at all. I don't need 40 for 8,900. I need a lot more than that. So that's kind of what I'm thinking here when I'm looking at this. And as you can see, we've got Trae Young projected at 24%. I'm using all that to say, I feel like on DK, this is a perfect, let's just fade CJ spot and get some leverage in other places. Other than that, Cantor's your lock button. You just play him tonight.
All right. On the McCollum point, I like the point. On DraftKings, where he's 8,900, you can get away from him because you can only play like 3, maybe 4 guards at the max with all the. You got Kyrie out there. You got Terry Rozier. There's 2 you can lock in. Cole Anthony got a good price tag. He's doing well. And then we got guys like Joe Harris, Norman Powell, all with guard eligibility. So I can get away from McCollum. On FanDuel, you have to reset your mode. You have to reset your mindset. And you say, I kind of need to play McCollum because I got to play 2 shooting guards. None of those guys I mentioned are at shooting guard. He's the only real viable, especially if I'm not going to play Paul George, who's 9K. And I think maybe there's a chance later on Paul George sits, man. Who knows? And there's just not the depth there at shooting guard. So I got to play McCollum, I think, at 8,100 on FanDuel. So you just got to reset your mindset there going into that when you're doing your builds on the 2 sites. But I like that. Last game of the night was Sacramento and Minnesota. Bagley and Holmes are out for Sacramento. We've seen that several games in a row now. We know how that's going to play out. So you got that going on, guys. Guys, fire up your questions because now is the time we bring in Devin, the producer, who's been tracking questions here. He's going to come in, keep track of all the questions you're firing up now. Now's the time we're going to answer them. Let's bring in Devin. Devin, how you doing, man?
Well, Devo, come on in, man.
Yeah,
so
what's up?
I did want to touch on something on this Minnesota-Sacramento game.
Please do.
So in this Minnesota-Sacramento game, right, and I just want to think for a second, how many times at the end of the night have we looked around and then suddenly whoever's playing Sacramento just comes out of nowhere? I mean, the Sacramento game just comes out of nowhere and explodes on you. You're sitting at the top of the leaderboard. You're like, man, I don't see how anybody's going to catch me tonight. And then slowly but surely, they hit the 4th quarter, and somebody creeps up to like 4th. And you're like, who is this coming up at 4th with 8 quarters left or 8 quarters? You're like, man, who's? And you look, and they got Fox, they got Hill, they've got Harrison Barnes, they got Karl Anthony Towns on the other side, and maybe just a sprinkle of D'Angelo Russell. And you look down and you say, man, this is about to get real ugly because they're about 10 points out. You know they're going to pass you. They knock you to 2nd, right? And then somebody that was in like 50th place comes out of nowhere. And at the end of the night, you're sitting there thinking to yourself, why didn't I just stack the Minnesota Kings game when I knew it was going to be this way? Here's the last point I want to make. I'm looking at this game, and at least on FanDuel anyway, I'm going to check DraftKings as well. Most of the ownership, seems to be on the King side. And it looks like no one wants to invest in Minnesota. I'm really intrigued in the Minnesota Timberwolves today. You heard me ask Keach about D'Angelo Russell. I think we get on the train now. The reason why I asked Keach about that, if D'Angelo Russell drops 40 tonight, you already know he's going to be 7,500 the next slate, right? So why not roll the dice? Get in on him now while he's in that low 6K range so we can go ahead and get this out of the way. Because if we miss it tonight, he's going to be priced up the next game, especially if he hits 30 to 32 minutes, drops 40. His price is coming up. I think today is the day to get on D'Angelo Russell, sprinkle in some Karl Anthony Towns, just stack this game. You don't have to full stack it, but I think you can get 5 pieces from this game and be very successful in the form of a midnight hammer. And nobody's going to see it coming, especially considering these ownership numbers I'm looking at. What say ye, Chop?
I say I'm always down with stacking a Sacramento game, especially one against Minnesota. What if I told you, Chief? What if I told you Minnesota is going to play Karl Anthony Towns, a 7-foot big man, for several minutes, like a lot of minutes in this game? This is what Karl Anthony Towns, he's a focal point. And Sacramento, missing 2 centers, needs a big guy on the court to counteract that. could I interest you in a Hassan Whiteside tonight? My man, he's got balls when he gets playing time, right?
Look, we're getting close today, Chop. I mean, today is real close to Hassan. Like, okay, if Hassan Whiteside got 27 minutes in this spot, is the likely outcome 40? I think close to 40 is the answer. I will say this.
Against that Cat defense, boy.
Yes. He wouldn't make my single entry team, but if I'm multi-entering today, we've got Hassan projected at 5. I for sure be going about 15% on Hassan. And that's not even a lot of your bill. And but it's just relative to the ownership. And last thing, Devin, because I know we got questions to answer. When I'm multi-entering, and I think this is huge, when I'm multi-entering, I let how I'm going to plug in my percentages, I base that off of the percentages projections that we have. So if I see a guy like Hassan Whiteside projected at 5%, and I really like him, I don't have to go to 25% on Hassan. He's barely being played. I'm probably going to go around 15%. Versus a guy like Cantor, who's at 47. In my mind, I'm thinking, okay, if Cantor's at 47, that means we probably got a range of anywhere from 43 to 54%. I probably need to be hitting the lock button if I think he's going to hit, or I need to just be hitting the X button. Now, that's just me personally. I don't want to be at 60% Cantor and I'm only lapping, 10% when everybody has him. I want to hammer the field if I'm right. That's why Cantor, especially, on this slate, he's probably a lock button. But anyway, just want to put that out there. But yeah, man, to answer your question, Hassan Whiteside for sure in play today, having to face big man Karl Anthony Towns.
Yeah, let's do it. Devin, you got some questions for us?
Oh, yeah. Got some questions. So maybe we just jump right into lightning round here. I love the strategy talk. Keelan asks, FanDuel for the 10 p.m. after hours slate. That's the Portland Clippers, Sacramento, Minnesota games. Who are the top guys to go after, and who is your favorite center out of Towns, Whiteside, Zubac, and Cantor? Based on that previous conversation, it seems like maybe Whiteside's that one.
Well, I would say the Chief can answer it, but it's all about your what game are you playing? Like, are you playing single entry, big GPP, or cash games? Because the safest guy on the board is Cantor. But man, if you're playing on a $4 GPP with all those tens of thousands of other teams you got to beat out, it might be Whiteside for me.
For what it's worth, I do think the best leverage play at center today is to skip Cantor and play Karl Anthony Towns. For what it's worth, just because it's going to give you a completely different construction. Like if you're looking at FanDuel and everybody plays Cantor, you can about peg the other guys they're going to have. CJ, they're going to have either Fox or one of the other high-owned guys versus playing Cat. You're going to have to get different construction. If Cat goes off for 60 and Cantor goes off for 25, now you're in the money. All right. Sorry, I know it's lightning round.
It's all good. Nate wants to know, FanDuel, if you had to choose your best 2 pay-up options, who would that be?
I would say for me, Kyrie and Julius Randle right now. But that might be a little chalky, but that's where I'm at.
Do you guys want to split up by site? One of you guys do FanDuel?
I'll take DK. You take FanDuel. That's cool, Chop?
Yeah.
And then we would come up right after that with a question that doesn't have a site. Shlomo wants to know thoughts on Rondé Hollis Jefferson.
What you got, Chief?
I don't think we need him today. I'd just rather build a little bit higher quality lineup. I know he played, I think, about 20 minutes or whatever it was, but I don't think we need him.
Been a while since we've heard that name. Morningwood, DK tournament, favorite pay-up spot. So same question, but for DK.
Definitely think Julius Randle. We got him at 12% on DK. I will go ahead and put that button in there. Another one on DK, which is a little bit more interesting. We didn't talk about it as much. Zion Williamson against Brooklyn, 9,700. This is a spot where you can put up 60. I like it. Last but not least, go all the way up. Highest salary player on the slate, Karl Anthony Towns. I think if you're playing any of those 3, you're not going to see the ownership. So those are the guys I like. And they're the most expensive guys on the slate.
I mean, Zion at 15. Yeah, that looks tasty. Morningwood has a question, and I thought this was a good one. I wanted to save it. You mentioned earlier you talked about building out sort of if-then projections in your Excel sheets. what sort of factors do you put into the lineup HQ as far as actual input when you're saying, like, for this build, say tonight, Paul George is, questionable hypothetically, what would you do for the set that is no Paul George? Would you boost a few minutes to Kawhi? Would you give a point projection boost to another player?
Okay, good question. The first thing I'll tell you right now, on any NBA slate I build, I don't care if it's early in the year, at the end of the year, I always give myself a gap of about 1,200 because I want that flexibility at the end of the night to be able to make some of those changes. So that's the first thing. So you'll notice Devin, as a matter of fact, Devin, can you pull up this screen share like super quick? If you go to my build rules, you'll see I'm building with a range of 48,800 to 50,000 because some of my lineups are going to come out with 48, 49,000. I'm gonna have 1,000 left, and those are lineups I can go back in and tweak if I'm multi-entering, and so it'll give me a lot more flexibility. Second thing is if I'm doing if-then lineup building, then what I'm gonna do is there may be, and usually I'm locking guys in, so that's my style of play. I'm probably gonna have 2 or 3 guys locked in all the time. What I will do is I say, okay, I got these 2 or 3 locked in. I start with that baseline, and then I go, okay. In this build, I'm going to build as if Kawhi Leonard doesn't play at all. So I'll remove Kawhi Leonard completely from the build. And I'll build with just Paul George. I'll probably have a little bit more Reggie Jackson in that one, a little bit more Terrence Mann in that one, a little bit more Markieff Morris in that one, a little bit more Nicholas Batum in that one, a little bit more, what's the center? Zubac. That's how I'll make that one. I'll have a little bit more. I'll push the ownership percentage for myself and my min-max just a tad. And then I'll have a build where I say, okay, Paul George doesn't play. And so all I have to do is get rid of Paul George, add in Kawhi, and use the same percentages. Then I have a build if neither one of them play, so forth and so on. And that's kind of how I do it. So it does get tedious because I have to keep thinking about different outcomes, but I'll have them all. I'll have spreadsheets open. I'll export that build, put it on a spreadsheet, and I'll save it. I'll name it Paul George, Kawhi, so forth and so on. And then I'll have my main lineups that I exported from DK or FanDuel that actually has it ready to go for the contest. And that way, if news breaks the way I want it to break, I just take that lineup, add it in, load it up, and it's ready to go. I know that was a long way of explaining it, but that's the way you have to do it if you want to do MME this time of the year. It's just really no other way, I think, because if not, you're just locking down too much time.
I mean, I'll just speak from my own experience. There are so many times, especially like yesterday, I thankfully I wasn't playing a lot of entries yesterday, but you get that last second news and it can just put you in scramble mode. And sometimes it'll throw the whole thing out the window. So yeah, any preparation you can do beforehand is great. Let's get a couple of quick ones in before we have to close out. K-Mac asked FanDuel tournament, Reggie Jackson or DeLon Wright?
I mean, right now, DeLon Wright, but I gotta think we can do better than those guys, right? Like,
yeah,
we got to be able to do better than that. Like,
I'll just take Cole Anthony, but he might already have him.
Secret answer C.
Listen, Cole, $100 more Cole Anthony, a few $100 more. I take Derrick Rose. Find a way to get up there to those guys instead of the bottom guys.
We were just saying he looks good. Trevor wants to know DK tournament best shooting guard play for under 4.9K.
Best shooting guard play for under 4.9K. Trevor, I think we got to go Landry Shamet at 4,400, man. He's a favorite of mine today.
All right. Salvatore wants to know, would you play Randall over Kyrie? You were talking up Randall earlier.
I mean, I would.
Yeah.
I would.
All right.
Yeah.
Unicorn wants to know, is it okay to use 3 players from Minnesota in one lineup?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if he's on DK or FanDuel, but yeah, absolutely on a 5-game slate. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Unicorn again. FanDuel, if Graham is out, how about Rozier instead of Irving?
Absolutely, lock him in, baby. If
Got
Graham is out, lock him
excited
in.
on that one. Morningwood, DK tournament, Rozier or Cole Anthony?
Well, that's a weird one, Morningwood, because the price difference. But right now, without knowing the Graham news, I think I would go Cole Anthony. But I mean, if Graham is out, I think it's Rozier.
All right, we'll get Muhammad's super draft question in the next one with Grant. Shauna wants to know, sorry I'm a bit late, do you like Bogdanovich for tournaments, or is that too chalky?
I don't think Bogdan's chalky at all.
All right. And that's about it for time. So, Chop, you want to go ahead and take us home?
Yeah, that's it, guys. We appreciate the questions. We appreciate the likes. If you hit the like button, we appreciate all that, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Just got the big text from Dan Bach. The Crunch Time is free for everybody today, guys. So you're going to get a baseball show next. After that, you're going to get a whole bunch of Crunch Time for NBA and Major League Baseball. It's all free to everybody out there viewing. So good luck in those GPP, guys. For our producer, Devin, for Big Will Priester, I was your host, Head Chopper, and we're out of here.
Fantasy Bar, 6 plays for you for Tuesday night in the MLB, including a couple of teammates I'm looking at, a few slow starters I think will be low owned, a pitcher with big upside in the mid-range, and of course, my favorite play of the night. Who is it? Belly up to the Fantasy Bar and find out. Welcome in, guys. Tuesday edition Beers Daily Fantasy 6-pack back here in the Fantasy Bar, talking some MLB today. A lot of wonkiness going on in baseball, some early games, some 6 p.m. games. We are going to stick with the 7:05 start and later on both FanDuel and DraftKings with some of my favorite plays, guys. Welcome in, and thank you for stopping by. Now, housekeeping. Before we start, same things as always. You guys enjoy your time here in the Fantasy Bar. Do me a favor. Click that thumbs up button. Let's see how many we can get today, guys. Thank you in advance for that. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Get notified when these videos are coming out. Lastly, scoresandodds.com/beer. The link is in the description of the video. All of your sports betting needs in one place. All the major sports can try it out for under $10 for a 5-day trial, or by the month, by the year, whatever you prefer, guys. Go and check it out. Support the show. scoresandodds.com/beer. All right, let's get into MLB tonight. One last thing. We got a game at Coors Field. You know the rules here. Too easy. We're going to look elsewhere for our plays tonight. Definitely some plays in that game I like, but we're going to go and look at some guys outside of Coors Field. Too easy to talk about Colorado. All right, let's start with a multi-position option, one of those slow starters we talked about. Second base outfielder Ian Happ of the Cubs. Now, you guys know I love me some Ian Happ. Maybe I have an Ian Happ problem, but he's been a regular here in the Fantasy Bar, and a guy I think is going to get it going sooner rather than later. So let's go right back to the well here. Again, ownership should be pretty low here. That FanDuel price has dipped all the way down to $2,500. So you're getting a leadoff hitter, a guy with some pop at $2,500, and even on DraftKings, just a shade over $4K as a price I want to get involved with here tonight with Ian Happ. We know the numbers, always solid against righties, 363 WOBA, 258 ISO over the last 2 seasons. And Taijuan Walker has just had a lot of struggles with left-handed hitters over the last 2 seasons, 355, that weighted OBA, 237 ISO, also a hard contact rate at 42%, so does allow some power as well. So Ian Happ, the struggles are there, no doubt. I could see a shine away from him, but I think he breaks out in a big way starting here tonight against Taijuan Walker. All right, let's go to another guy that's off to a slow start, a guy making a little bit more money, though. That's shortstop Francisco Lindor of the Mets. So the Mets bring this guy in. I think they expected a little bit more out of Francisco Lindor, and he will get more. And I think DFS owners kind of in the same camp. Don't give up on this guy yet. We know this is a guy with a proven track record, especially against righties. Now, we look at the last couple seasons, numbers are kind of subpar, but over the course of his career, this guy's hit 277 against righties, WOBA approaching 350, ISO over 200. So the numbers are there. He's proven he can do it. And Jake Arrieta, just not the same guy that he was early on in his career, has struggled against lefties, 353 weighted OBA a lot. I really like the Mets in this spot here. I really like the potential low ownership on Francisco Lindor, who we know has big upside, just a matter of when we get it. I think it starts tonight against Jake Arrieta. All right, so I like the Mets. Let's stay right here, do a double dip at first base or outfield with Dominic Smith. So if you guys aren't sensing a theme yet here, the theme today is slow starters that we want to buy low on, and Smith certainly fits the bill here as well. Hasn't done a whole lot to start the season, but we know this is a guy with big power. You see that ISO over 300 against righties over the last couple seasons. Got a WOBA approaching 400 here. So a young guy that's had a lot of success against righties. In Arrieta, we talked about the WOBA, but that hard contact rate, anytime you see a number this high, it's something you want to definitely pay attention to. 40% hard contact rate allowed to left-handed hitters. We're going to dig a little bit deeper, and you can find this information in our Plate IQ tool on Rotogrinders. Tons of information on there, splits, pitch types, and when we look into Jake Arrieta, loves to throw that sinker to lefties. In fact, he uses that pitch half the time against left-handed hitters. Well, that's not good news here against Dominic Smith, who puts up almost a 450 WOBA against that pitch over the last few seasons. So we get a nice pitch matchup. We get a guy who's going to break out here soon. We get nice power numbers against righties and a right-handed pitcher that gives up a lot of hard contact. Add it all up, I think Dominic Smith, another New York Met, in a good spot here tonight against Jake Arrieta. All right, let's go to starting pitcher. I promised a guy in the mid-range with some upside. We're going to go with Eduardo Rodriguez of the Red Sox. Oh, I get it. The first instinct is you look at that Toronto lineup loaded up with right-handed hitters, loaded up with right-handed power, and you ask, why are we going with Eduardo Rodriguez? Well, it's definitely high risk, but I think the reward is there as well. So probably more so of a tournament play, but even in cash games, I don't hate it because this guy has traditionally done a very good job against righties, specifically right-handed power. Looked over the course of his career, he's only allowed a 242 batting average to right-handed hitters, a WOBA just a shade over 300 at 302, and a home runs per 9 at just a tick over 1. So those are very, very good numbers here. We look at Toronto, yes, they have some power bats. There's also a lot of strikeouts available in this lineup. In fact, 6 of the projected starters have a strikeout rate of 23.5% or higher against left-handed pitching over the course of the last 2 seasons. So definitely high risk, maybe even too high risk for some of you, especially Blue Jays fans out there. But I like the upside here. I think the strikeouts can be there. He's shown us some big games in the past, and with that track record against righties, I'm trusting him here tonight. Eduardo Rodriguez, my favorite pitcher on the night here against the Toronto Blue Jays. All right, back to the bats here. We're going to go with some power at first base outfielder with Jared Walsh of the Angels. So we started the video with a few slow starters. Well, here's a guy that's been red hot to start the season. In fact, top 12 in all of MLB with 13 RBI already, has shown some power. The batting average is up there over 340 for him, and the numbers early on in his career outstanding against righties. We're talking about a WOBA over 450 and an ISO, a massive number in the ISO department, sitting right at 450. So good numbers there. And I always love going against Jordan Lyles with power hitters. This guy doesn't strike out a lot of hitters. You see that, just a 14% strikeout rate against lefties, and gives up a lot of hard contact. So not the mix that you want as a pitcher against these power hitters, but also allows a 342 weighted OBA here. So the Angels definitely in a good spot. Love me some Mike Trout, but Jared Walsh, the guy that may be a little bit off the radar here. Not anymore. Get him in those lineups here tonight against Jordan Lyles. All right, it's time to take a look at my favorite play for Tuesday night. But before we do that, we're going to continue our Beast of the Night contest. It's free to play. It's a thank you to you guys for hanging out here in the Fantasy Bar. So how do we play? All you got to do, get in the comment section right below the video and guess fantasy points for my highest scoring hitter. Can be any of the 5 bats I'm going to give you tonight. I don't need the name. All I need is fantasy points. And let's go with FanDuel tonight. The closest guess will win themselves a free 3-day pass to Rotogrinders Premium. That's going to allow you to check everything out behind the curtain. Or if you're already a premium subscriber, we will send you a free Rotogrinders t-shirt. Let's wrap this baby up. My favorite play for Tuesday night. You know him as the Beast of the Night. All right, this time we're going to finish up at first base. We're going to roll with Paul Goldschmidt of the Cardinals, tonight's Beast of the Night. Now, I absolutely love this matchup here for Paul Goldschmidt. He was the play that jumped off the page for me, and that's usually who gets to sit in the Beast chair tonight. So let's dig into some of the recent performance. Been very good for Goldschmidt. 3 multi-hit games over the last 6. We know this is a guy that has always hit left-handers well. No different here in the last couple seasons. WOBA sitting at 424, ISO at 231, and Patrick Corbin has really come crashing down to earth. It's been a disaster for him against righties. 395 WOBA allowed, 225 ISO, and a huge 53% hard contact rate. Love the Cardinals here tonight. A lot of ways you can go with that lineup. But Paul Goldschmidt, the one that stands out the most. Love him in all formats. Easily my favorite play on the board in tonight's Feast of the Night. All right, guys, that wraps up for Tuesday night in the Fantasy Bar with 6 of my favorite plays on FanDuel and DraftKings. If you have any comments, questions, feedback, hit me up in the comment section. Don't forget, while you're there, fantasy points from my highest scoring hitter on FanDuel for your shot at some free RG Premium, and scoresandodds.com/beer for all my sports bettors out there. Tons of information I think you will find very helpful in all the major sports. Go get signed up today. For Rotogrinders.com, I am Beer saying salute. Best of luck here tonight, guys, and we'll see you.
Hey, thanks for checking out our videos. If you want more expert advice on DraftKings, FanDuel, or any other daily fantasy sports, make sure you check out the current videos playlist.
What is going on, Rotogrinders? Dean here. It's Dean 7904 if you want to get all technical on me. It's actually 5:32 on the East Coast, 2:32 on the West Coast, 4:32 Tennessee time. Of course, I'm just live with the flagship show here at Rotogrinders. It is called Grinderslive. Joining me today, we did so good yesterday, Grant. We're running it back. Yesterday, we talked basketball. Today, we're going to talk some baseball. If you guys want to hear basketball, here's the deal. You can click the rewind button. You got Chief and you got Chop all over that. They talked basketball for an hour right before us. Nothing personal. We're cool with that. If you guys want to hear some basketball, or if you can stay tuned at 6:30, we're crossing over. We're crossing over the crunch time. Crunch time is free. You got 180 Means talking some basketball. You got Kevin Roth, chief meteorologist. He's actually to jump on the show early and give you guys a peek as far as some potential weather that might be lurking out there. If y'all aren't aware, Pittsburgh and Detroit's already been shellacked. That is not on the slate tonight. It's not going down. That was rained out. And STL Cards talking baseball as well too. What's up, Grant? And we will, of course, funky slate, DK locks tonight at 6:30. FanDuel locks at 7:05. We're going to do our best to accommodate both. Obviously, the closer and closer we get to 6:30, the more we're going to prioritize DK baseball, especially when it comes to the questions from the chat. And hey, you can feel free to start putting up those questions in chat. What up, chat? Like, subscribe, turn on those notifications, and ask some questions. All your baseball questions, myself and Grant will do our best to answer them. Feel free to tell us if it's for cash, if it's for tournament, what site it's on. It makes it a lot easier. Grant, how are things in your world?
Not too bad. Was trying to sign up to buy crypto on Venmo. Didn't work. Didn't know what I was doing.
You got baseball packs today, didn't you?
No, I didn't. They charged me, and then they're like, "No, you got them, but no, you didn't actually get them. We're gonna just refund your money." And they gave me a giant FU, and they're officially dead to me.
I feel like no, they're not. If they go back on sale, you're going to get back in line. And you're going to try to get them again because the resale.
That's irrelevant and immaterial.
You are a liar and a hypocrite. And I felt the same way because I spent like an hour trying to figure out how to buy those things, and I wasn't sure it was just me. And then like I go on Twitter, everybody else is like, "Yeah, we don't know what's going on." And some people apparently bought packs and got cards or moments. Like, what are they called? They're not called moments, right? They're called packs and they're just cards. NFTs. How about their non-fungible tokens? But that's not what the people are here to hear us talk about. They're here for some Mlb Dfs. Well, again, if it's NBA, rewind or stay tuned. Andy Means jumping on as well. Your thoughts as far as the slate tonight, Grant? Do you have like a big screenshot?
I don't. Obviously, Coors is an interesting one. I was outside and it was cold, and it's still kind of cold. So there's that, and then there's other cold areas. So cold is a concern, apparently. But yeah, no, it's
that
an
was pretty
interesting
dynamic, dynamite weather. Now you're like the dude from the Family Guy. Is it going to rain or is it just good to go or what?
It's raining now.
So Ollie, I don't remember. What's the guy's name?
I think so.
Yeah. Does he age? By the way, the show's like been on for how long? Has he aged throughout the years, or we're not really sure?
I mean, again, people age at about a 10% rate. So
fall back to our previous show.
Yeah. But no, it's definitely an interesting little slate. The most interesting thing, at least over on DraftKings, is pitching. Like, there are a lot of options, and there's like two that just stand out way above everything else. And so being contrary, like, and the interesting thing is, like, obviously weather could be a concern over in Cincinnati. Luis Castillo is far too underpriced. I don't understand it at all. And he's projecting to be one of the top players on the entire slate. Top scoring pitcher, I think one of the top scoring pitchers on the entire slate. And he's 6.6K. Doesn't make any sense. So I'm trying to figure out a way, and I might have to make lineups during the show. So guys, if I'm slightly distracted, just know I'm making lineups and trying to give you better input because I'm making lineups too. Actually, I'm just going to make some lineups right now and X out Castillo.
Oh, good. Why would you X him out? Okay, he's 6.6K on DK.
I have 2 lineups already made that I'm not changing.
Okay.
And yeah, so I'm going to just keep those, and then now I'm just going to make non-Castillo lineups. Let's see. I want to throw in Gallen's too high owned. I want to throw in unowned guys. So Ohtani, even though he's only going to go 75 pitches, don't care.
Ugh.
Walker, Ryu, Keller. Those are the 4 guys I'm rolling with. Actually, I'll throw one Morton in there. Yeah, I'm throwing in some lineups. Yeah, so overall, like, it's trying to figure out ways off the chalk of both Burns and Castillo. I'm all in on Burns, I think. I don't care. Like, I don't care if it's a tough matchup. The dude is just absolutely legit. Like, the only guy that really matches upside and doesn't even come close to matching his upside is Paddock. It's not going to happen. He's not going to be remotely close.
It's not even a tough matchup, though, because they're without Machado and they're without Tatis. And, there's a couple professional hitters for sure in that lineup. But Burns, the bat, Derek Carty, he put out a tweet today and he said he's his 4th best pitcher on the bat. And, like, you really can't argue with that. The only
thing he might
be
too low.
Well, I don't know. Whatever. They're all.
I put him right behind DeGrom, but I'm also overreacting.
He's on the Family Feud board, if nothing else, right? We survey 100 people. Well, actually, you don't really know he's just outside of our world, but theoretically, with baseball people, they know this guy's an absolute stud. Top 6, top 7, top 4, however you want to cut it up. He's got 30 strikeouts this year. You know how many walks he has? Out of curiosity.
0.
That's a pretty good strikeout to walk ratio. Yeah, he's just the only issue. If you want to have a hiccup as far as Burns, the only issue is they're not really pushing him. They have a good bullpen there in Milwaukee. They have a organizational philosophy where generally they don't.
And how many strikeouts has he ended up with every time?
Well, no, he's been super efficient. Yeah, he threw 87 pitches, 86 pitches, and 81 pitches. I went reverse order for whatever reason. 6, 6, and 6. 6 and a hook, 6 and a third. But that's being super. It's hard to strike out 11 guys in 87 pitches or 10 guys in 81 pitches because you have to throw at least 30 and you're going to work on some balls. There's going to be some foul balls as well too, but the efficiency has been incredible. The matchup, not nearly as scary with Tatis missing, with Machado missing. So even their catcher, I believe, is their weaker catcher, if I'm not mistaken, as far as what we're looking at as far as that lineup for San Diego today. It's a ballpark upgrade for him. If you want to say Milwaukee to San Diego, slight upgrade for sure from a pitching perspective. It's not hard to get him in on FanDuel. He's my number 1 guy as well too. FanDuel prices are still relatively soft. DK, we'll talk about Luis Castillo as well, and I think his price is still reflective of like getting shellacked the first game. I imagine that's the reason why, because this is a guy who's like 9, 10K over the years, and we're talking 6 and change. By the way, I'm going to go ahead and drop the weather report in chat for you people. I think, Roth did update the weather. We said Pittsburgh and Detroit is knocked out. That's not playing tonight. Yellow, orange, and Cincy for what it's worth. Green in Boston, yellow, green in Wrigley. It's cold in Wrigley. We talked about that pre-show, and I think Taijuan Walker is kind of interesting for that reason because the Cubs are terrible and bats should be subdued. And if you look at the weather edge suggests that like historically games have been really, really poor there with similar weather. In Kansas City, it's also going to be cold as well. It snowed yesterday and it's cold today. And you got boots in the ground there in Colorado. Can you do any better? Like give us a better weather report as far as just, hey, it's dry, it's cold, it's like 30s, but it's going to be fine.
It's dry, it's cold, it's 30s, it's going to be fine. No, it's like the big thing with Colorado too that people don't fully realize is obviously cold air makes it a little bit less thin. So it's harder for the ball to travel through. But in high altitude, like it kind of discounts that quite a bit. Like high altitude plus being closer to the sun. So if it's sunny, like I think when the game starts 6:40, is that right? I believe that's right. Game starts at 6:40. I think sundown's at 7:50, 7:30. I can't remember.
Is that Mountain Time 6:40? So that's okay. Just wanted to be clear.
Yeah, sunset today, Denver. Let's see. 7:44. So you get a full hour of the game where it's going to be a little bit sunny, and it feels the air just feels way thinner. Like it's something weird to experience. Like literally the difference between sun out and not sun out is just absolutely massive. Like it's night and day, literally.
Are you heading out to a game anytime soon?
I will soon. It's just been so busy. Like probably once basketball's done with, I've just been slaughtered with work all over the place. But yeah, like it's very much different once the sun goes down, but it's still Colorado. Like it doesn't fully matter. Like Colorado's still at a 10.5 total. And it's not like these are complete scrubs, terrible pitchers on the mound. Like John Gray is not a horrible pitcher. He's not good. He's not horrible. And Garcia still has a little bit of talent. But the fact that it's at a 10.5 team total reminds me of the fact that it doesn't really matter what the temperature is outside. The ball's still going to fly. The ball's still going to fly in 39-degree weather more than it will 80-degree weather over in Philly, 90-degree weather over in Miami.
I would just add that I think Miami, has the roof closed for what it's worth. I would just add that, the thing with Coors, people assume it's this amazing home run park, and it's a good home run park for sure. But the huge thing about is the outfield is so massive, that doubles turn to triples, things that would be caught are going to drop for singles. And I don't know how much the weather affects that, but yeah, it's not just it's because it's a home run park. It's because it's just the outfield is there's so much territory to cover.
Not only that, like one of the biggest things is because of the thinner air, curveballs, all pitches basically don't drop as much. Like the air resistance doesn't make the ball drop. So curveballs, that's why knuckleballers are entirely worthless in Coors. Like they haven't had a knuckleballer throw since R.A. Dickey back in 2012, 2014. Robert Allen was the last one?
Well, that's his name. It's R.A., yeah.
Oh. I should have known that. I knew who Robert Allen was. I knew he was a big.
Did Tim Wakefield ever pitch in Coors? I'm not really sure.
He never did. They intentionally. So, like, that's why also a lot of, no one really has knuckleballers, but generally teams that play in Rockies division don't get knuckleball pitchers, although no one just really does because there's not really that many great ones. But the ball doesn't drop. The ball flies more, so it's going to get knocked down to the ground. I golf. And I immediately go hitting my drives 40 yards further when I go out to Denver. And you go down to some place with low elevation, someplace that's right pretty much sea level, it's going to be just drastically lower. So that's why a lot of these sea level parks, that's why San Diego Padres, while the park dimensions aren't that bad, the fact that it's literally at sea level because the beach is like 150 yards away, ball doesn't fly as far.
I just pulled up on the fly just for fun the FanGraphs park factors. 100 is even. That's and if you're 110, that's 10% greater. There's 3 ballparks. This is 2019, bigger sample, 2020. 3 ballparks: Reds, Rockies, Phillies, all at 110 for homers. But for triples, the Rockies are 137. That's obviously the highest number. And for doubles, the Rockies actually right behind the Red Sox. Red Sox 115, 113, and for singles. They're number 1 at 108. So it's home runs are fine, but all the other hits that kind of drop in as well too. We also, I think, have to entertain Chris Paddock. I think it's more of a FanDuel question, a DK question. It's
we don't have to entertain Chris Paddock.
On FanDuel, just because DK, no,
he's 20% projected ownership on DK. He's grading out as
that's wrong. Is that true?
The the projection systems like him. Because guess what? He still has the swinging strike rate pretty close to equivalent to what he had last year. This Milwaukee Brewers lineup has close to a 30% K rate all the way throughout the lineup going up against right-handed pitching. I think Paddock is a little bit splits neutral. On top of that, the only problem he's really had this year is walking guys. You look at his matchups. Let me double check and see what his matchups are.
The Ks are down too. Yeah.
The Ks are down, but so you have to look at this point in the season. Why are the Ks down? Looking at his swing strike rate in 2020, 11.1. Looking at his swing strike rate the year before, 11.5, where he had 27% K rate. This year, barely down, 10.8. It's not that far down. It's not that drastic of a difference. And yes, he's had a little bit of weaker opponents, but still, it doesn't matter. The fact that he still has a comparable swinging strike rate, they'll still let him go 85, 90 pitches if they need to. A horrible Milwaukee Brewers team. It makes sense. That being said, I'm not playing him at all. I have no reason to play him at all.
On FanDuel, I'm going to get a pinch just because, but on DK,
on DraftKings, yeah, I have no reason.
On DK, like that 10K price, get out of here. Like, there's no way I can talk that. And he's another guy that doesn't go particularly deep. I don't know how much win equity he has facing, facing Corbin Burns. The win isn't everything, but it certainly matters to some degree. And like you said, that lineup for Milwaukee, it is out. And I pull up the old play IQ since 2019. We're looking at a team that collectively strikes out at 26.2% against the average righty, against all righties. And the lowest strikeout percentage amongst all these dudes, like individually, is Navarez at 22.3%. It's a lot of strikeouts, but like you said, the Paddock since 2019, the Ks are at 25%. But if you want to get the sample from just this season, we're looking at 16.9% and walks at 10.2%. So not a lot of strikeouts and too many walks. He's vulnerable to lefties as well too. Like I don't want to pick. I think Milwaukee's not great, and I guess Shaw and Bradley and Team Girth and the CEO Vogelbach's in a lot of things. Did a couple homers the other day. Sadly, I did not have him. That made me very sad. That did not work out for your boy. Patrick Corbin's pitching. He's throwing baseballs tonight. The velocity. It's weird. We're getting a lot of guys that are like the velocity is down on Corbin. Velocity down a little bit on Castillo. Paddock, just the strikeouts are down. Jameson Tyon's got some velocity issues. Who knows how deep he's going to go either. It's so clear cut for me that Burns is the guy. On FanDuel, I made a lineup I like pretty easily. Salary
you
matters.
can make other guys over on FanDuel. Like, it's not hard to make other lineups over on FanDuel. There's guys that are mispriced over on FanDuel. DK just leads you to Burns and Castillo, which this is baseball. Anything can happen. The fact that we're probably going to get Castillo, I would guess at 50%. We currently have him projected 40%. I don't know if that is entirely accurate. Over on FanDuel, Paddock makes sense. He's super cheap. He's 6.9K. It's basically what Castillo is. Both of the guys, like, it's exact same situation. Good matchup. Guy that has been good in the past, and a guy that is drastically underpriced considering what he should be. But over on FanDuel, like, Burns is going to be less owned than Paddock. Paddock is going to be the clear chalk. There's multiple guys that you can end up going with. Like, Wheeler could end up outscoring these guys. Walker can end up outscoring these guys. I mean, not so much on FanDuel. I guess that's pretty much it over on FanDuel. DraftKings, you want to hear who my guy is today?
Is it Keller?
It is.
Yeah, he's the weirdest dude, man. Like, if you look at his numbers over the years, I'll let you go in a second, but like 16.8% K rate since 2019. That is horrendous. That is not appealing, but he's so strange. All the ground balls in the world, 50.6% ground balls, only 27% fly balls. Amongst those 27% fly balls, only 9.8% are going over the fence. That adds up to 0.74 homers per 9. When you factor in the weather today and the ballpark, I'll tell you this, he's not giving a homer today. No home runs today for Keller. That said, I don't know if he's going to be good. He might be fine. Tell me why he's going to be fine.
He's going to be fine because he's 5.4K over on DK. He's 1,200 cheaper than Castillo. He can go 6, 7, 8 innings into the game in all reality. Like, it wouldn't surprise me at all if he goes late into the game in this type of pitching scenario. This guy put up 21 in the last game, like 21 going up against the Angels. He struck out 5 dudes. He had one horrific game at the beginning of the season going up against Texas, and then had a tough outing going up against Chicago. And now he's going up against a not great lineup.
Lots of Ks.
Like, literally, outside of Diaz, no one's under 19%. And half the lineup's over 27%. Actually, more than half the lineup's over 20%. 7%. Adames strikes out a 35% clip since the beginning of last season. Zunino, 41%. Meadows, 30% to righties. Rosarilla, 30%. Like, there's tons of strikeouts in here. No one's going to play Keller. Absolutely no one's going to play Keller.
I think they might play him as an SP2 on DK, I think. Well, or they're just going to stop at Castillo because, like, money's not that much of a thing. It's not that hard to make things work.
What do you think Keller's ownership is?
I don't know, 12%?
8.
Okay.
I think that might be a little high.
I would take the over on 8. Maybe I'm wrong on that. But whatever, it's going to be between, like, 7 and 13, give or take. Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, that could be true. I'm adjusting my lineups here to get more Keller because I had to create him while we're on the show.
DK, you can pick Zach Gallen. You like Zach Gallen today?
Gallen's fine. He's not great. He's not bad. Zach Gallen matchup, not terrible going up against Cincinnati. If we look at multiple years, but they've been so hot this year that I'm not sure. Castellanos not being in the lineup drastically helps him out. Gallen's a guy that we know can get strikeouts in just droves. It's a positive strikeout park in Cincinnati, but also huge possibility of giving up bombs. This is a lineup that has a whole lot of power in it. I have no problem playing him, but realistically, like, I'm looking at ownership. Charlie Morton, I know it's a tough match versus the Yankees, who really haven't been that great this year, but he's going to be 2% owned. Why are we
I
not?
don't hate it for tournaments.
Yeah, you don't need it. But, I mean, you're looking for guys that can put up 25-point outings. He can do it. Rich Hill, I know he has a short leash, but he's literally the same price as Castillo. He's given up 4 runs in each of his first 4 starts. I don't think that's going to fully continue. Rich Hill is in the exact same pitching situation as Keller, slightly more expensive, lots more K upside, can be fairly efficient, going up against a Kansas City team that, while the top is not a huge strikeout lineup, they still have a decent amount of strikeouts in there, especially with Dozier, Benintendi, Taylor, Soler, and Perez. All those guys can strike out a decent clip. If Rich Hill can be on, which we've seen him be absolutely on in multiple different times with his curveball, he can end up mowing through this lineup. 1% projected ownership right now at 6.8K.
But yeah, I mean,
this guy was the chalk in the last start at 9K. Granted,
every slate is different, but yeah, I think it was because it was like a short slate. It was like him and a bunch of like number 5s rolling out there.
I mean, there were a lot more than that. I mean, Riley was on the slate, Kelly was on the slate, Corbin was on the slate, Manea was on the slate, and pretty much the same ownership as Rich Hill. Scooball was fairly high owned. Like, yes, it was a weird slate, but Rich Hill at 1%, like, I'll take a few hits on him. Walker, we already talked about. Ryu, I mean, how owned is Rio going to be? We haven't projected at 2%. Rio's not a bad pitcher.
I like that for tournaments.
Yeah, he's going up against entirely righties, which are why people are going to be fully off him, because obviously righties, he's lefty, and destroys lefties, but he actually strikes out righties at a higher clip. I mean, granted, if we go to a bigger sample size, I think it goes back to a little bit neutral in terms of split strikeouts. But going back to since the beginning of last season, 26% Ks versus righties, 22% versus lefties. Granted, he doesn't give up much in terms of anything versus lefties, like doesn't give up a ton of fly balls, doesn't give up, has an ISO around 88, but he actually has more strikeout upside potentially going up against righties. And the righties they're throwing in the lineup, the guys that they're platooning out, Arroyo, Renfroe, Dahlbeck, all very high strikeout guys. Granted, JD's in the lineup, but still, like, he's a guy that can go 7 innings. He can get you 35 points. He's coming in at no ownership when 20 times as many people or 10 times as many people are going to be playing Paddock.
I just want to mention that Oakland game you referenced. That is the first of a doubleheader. It's on the DK slate. I'm not going to be playing any hitters there. It's a 7-inning game. If Oakland's actually winning this game, their hitters only hit, for 6 innings. Of course, Jed Lowry, in theory, can hit 2 homers in his first 2 at bats, and you can point at me and say, I told you so, but I'm not playing them. It's always a bump for me as far as the pitchers, because you got the chance of the complete game or the TGSO if things are going amazing. Kepler from Minnesota went on the DL, or went on he has a COVID issues. I saw a report there. Houston, we're still waiting on that. Of course, Bregman, it was reported that he's probably going to play today. We shall see. No Houston lineup just yet. Jordan Alvarez, same deal. We talked about this pre-show. He probably doesn't play anyway in the National League. Really no spot to put him. Just kind of in Altuve, who I guess Altuve is not ready to come back just yet. So we're probably going to get a funky Houston lineup. Stay tuned on that. Did want to mention, this is a baseball show. Obviously, if you guys want basketball, stay tuned. Crunch Time is following us. Crunch Time is free for everybody today. You get Andy Means, you get Kevin Roth, you get STL Cards talking some baseball. But if you guys want NBA content for the next 5 days for $5, we got the promo code for y'all. $5, 5 days. Honestly, that's like $1 a day, give or take. Go ahead. That's going to be dropped in chat for y'all. And if you guys want to get to all the stuff, all the goods, you get $10 off for every single sport for your first month. Link will be dropped in chat for that as well, with the exception of NASCAR. That's a la carte. If you guys want just one sport, just baseball, you can get that as well. $10 off the first month. Anything else as far as pitchers that you think are worth talking about? We kind of have we mentioned, or if you want to prioritize and say, well, these are my favorites. I know a lot of names have been thrown out there. On DK, it seems pretty clear. The cash game build is going to be Burns and Castillo. That makes a ton of sense. Another price Castillo. You have the salary for Burns. Burns, the biggest upside in the slate, despite the fact he might only throw 90 pitches. But that San Diego lineup is pretty vulnerable today, and the Ks this year have been absolutely ridiculous. We didn't talk about Wheeler. Wheeler's just kind of sort of somewhat fine.
Wheeler's way better than Paddock.
Well, again, the Paddock could throw away on DK.
No, he's 20% projected ownership.
I refuse to believe the 20% of people playing Paddock. I will smash.
I will bet he will be at least 16. Projection systems are what
that's
matter.
not 16 and 20 are two different numbers, Grant.
I said at least 16.
Well,
you said
okay.
20 is ridiculous, but a 20% decrease from that's also ridiculous. That's
16 is ridiculous too. I will take the under on 18. Let's meet in the middle. I'll take the under on 18.
Okay, fine. Perfect.
Yes. What are we wagering?
I don't know.
Oh, all right. We'll figure something out. Otani's going to be throwing baseballs tonight. He's not hitting baseballs. He's 7.5K in DK, but they're saying 75 pitches as far as his pitch count.
It's been a while since we've done a beer chugging bet.
Oh, geez. I don't have any beer in the house. I keep telling you this.
That's fine. I'll give you ridiculous odds. I bet Keller outscores Castillo by 8 points.
Wait, you just changed the bet. The bet was, were we just betting the
No, I wanted to do this bet because
what just happened?
I think I don't know if you want to do a beer chugging bet on Paddock's ownership. I think this gives you better odds. Keller will outscore Castillo by 8 or more points.
Maybe. Whatever. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. You want to say your final thoughts as far as pitchers before we move on to sticks?
Nah, we can move on to sticks.
You don't want to give anybody a summary? Like somebody just
summary. All right. So Corbin, absolutely lock him in. Do not play Paddock on DK, but he's a great play over on FanDuel. Castillo, way underpriced, hasn't looked good lately. Going to be crazy high owned. He's absolutely the guy you want in cash, assuming that Roth gives us the okay for weather a little bit later. But the guys I'm going with way more in tournaments are Charlie Morton, Brad Keller is my favorite play on the entire slate at pitcher for tournaments. He's going to go very under-owned, and I think that ends up a 20-point game. I think you can play Rich Hill as a potential pivot. I really like Ryu as a potential pivot. If you're not playing Paddock, you can pivot over to Wheeler. Or if you're thinking about playing Paddock, then just straight up pivot over to Wheeler. Outside of that, I think Tan Walker, great pitching weather. Definitely like him a little bit more than I did last night if you listen to the morning grind. Also, Otani. We didn't really talk much about Otani.
I just did 2 minutes ago. You ignored me.
Yeah, I always ignore you. You're not worth paying attention to. Sorry about that. But he's only going to go 75 pitches, but he's going up against Texas. He's like, he can easily strike out a ton of guys. Like,
he's also not efficient, which is kind of his problem. But in theory, there is an upside. But yeah, I don't know how worth it is, and he's probably not pitching 5 innings if that matters to you. He can, but probably not.
Yeah, I don't know, but I still think that he's potentially worth it.
All right, catcher, you got a roster one.
Moustakis got scratched, by the way.
Who did?
Moustakis.
Does that make anything interesting for us?
No, it doesn't really change too much. Obviously, Gallen's not a guy that you really want to.
It makes Gallen a better play. I mean, I don't know who they're going to replace him with, but I mean, and also they're without Castellanos. Maybe Castellanos moves into the lineup now. I'm not really sure.
I don't think so. Yeah. I think he's still injured.
Okay, I wasn't sure it was actually an injury for Castellanos. Interesting. Catcher, I think your punt catcher on DK. Of course, I'm FanDuel with the roster one again. 6:30 main lock on DK. Kevin Roth, chief meteorologist, join us about 15 minutes or so. Fire off some questions in chat after Roth steps aside. We're going to stick around for 10 minutes or so as a bridge to crunch time, which is STL cards, talking some baseball. Andy Means talking some basketball, taking you guys all at the 7:30 tonight. It'll be good times for sure. And I imagine cards will talk baseball up to 7:05 on FanDuel. So yeah, Kirk. I think that's my favorite play. And I'm not sure if you've ever seen Kirk before for Toronto. He's Daniel Vogelbach is the CEO of Team Girth. He's like the COO of Team Girth. I'm not sure if you've seen
no. Do you know who's the president of Team Girth?
Oh, Panda. He's playing tonight.
No, I was gonna say Yerman Mercedes.
Well, no, that's a different kind of girth, I think.
Yeah, it's I hear the better kind of girth. At least that's what women tell me when they tell me to go to the darn gym because I'm fat.
So I think Kirk is a good punt. Also he's got that monster to face. Erod, we didn't talk about him, but
he's not going to go over 80, 85 pitches. So probably he can be efficient, but he's not as great, and it's not an easy lineup. So I'm out on Erod.
Catchers.
It's Kirk is probably my favorite option. Tournament one-offs: Sanchez, Desarnaud, Molina. Probably my 3 favorite options. I'm a big fan of St. Louis stack today, by the way. We'll get to that.
I think
more.
everybody is.
Yeah, are they?
That's my concern. Yeah, and because Patrick Corbin has been exposed as being dusty and a fraud and all that. And
I mean, they're not projected for that high of ownership. I mean, everyone is, but also everyone's on Coors because Coors is Coors. But I'm a big my two favorite stacks. You tried to talk me off of it. I don't think you can. Mets,
don't play the Mets.
Mets and Cardinals.
Yeah, I mean, Jake Arrieta's not good, obviously, and it's going to be crazy cold. The wind's blowing in a bit there in Wrigley, and I mean, we're looking at a team total under 4. I understand that means whatever. Nobody's playing them if you want to pull that strategy. And, the polar bear, maybe the polar bear likes the cold. Pete Alonso, he probably likes banging out some homers there. Yeah, but that Mets lineup's been pretty cool, it feels like. Lindor.
Who cares? They're still talented.
Yeah, I know. I just don't like the conditions, and Arrieta's trash, obviously.
So one of the big things to look at when you're looking at like how cold is a lineup, look at K rates, how much they've differed from this year to last year. Look at hard contact rates, fly balls, and line drives. Looking at fly balls for the Mets right now, they're cold. Not a lot of them are hitting fly balls right now, but there's a lot of line drives being hit. So that means good, solid contact, very close to being a fly ball. And the hard contact rates for everyone outside of Nimmo, McNeil, Davis, and McCann, which we're not expecting much out of those guys outside of Nimmo, is pretty darn high. 42% for Lindor, 64% for Dominic Smith, and 52% for Conforto. So they're getting their bat on the ball. Line drives and hard contact is getting your bat on the ball. Slight differences in launch angle will drastically change it. And now they're going up against Arrieta, who this season is just giving up boatloads of fly balls, boatloads of hard contact. We go back to the beginning of last season, still more of a ground ball pitcher, but still gives up a ton of hard contact. So the fact that they're at least getting it into the air and not just hitting ground ball after ground ball, I think that they're due for some positive regression. I really like them in this spot. I could be wrong. I could entirely fudge over all those lineups because I have about 40% exposure to them in tournaments.
I think they're due too. I agree. I hate saying the term due, obviously, but I agree. I think they're going to get better. I just don't know if tonight's the night to get better just because the weather conditions don't really allow it. But maybe how bad area is will overcome.
Name one spot where there's good weather conditions.
Good weather conditions. It's all relative, right? And that's why, I think the Marlins are interesting. I just wish they were more left-handed, because Matt Harvey is pitching, and I prefer the lefties against them. Baltimore, in theory, but again, I don't know how good that Baltimore lineup is, but what control conditions, and this will flip later on in the season when it comes summertime, obviously, when it's 90 everywhere else or 80 everywhere else. But right now, Miami has got one of the better conditions to actually hit baseballs in tonight.
Well,
and two of the worst pitchers.
Did you say the dome's open today? I
believe it's closed.
So also you have to realize that they're still at sea level. They still have a larger than average park. So realistically, again, elevation has the biggest effect of potentially anything based on how much difference you have. There's a reason why Coors in 39-degree weather is better than Miami open dome 100-degree weather. It's better. Coors is 100% better. 60 degrees cooler. It's that simple. I mean, obviously dew point and other things have to take into account, but elevation is a big thing. And Marlins still, even though they're in a dome, even though they have the dome closed, or if it's open, it can be really hot. It's never really a great hitter's ballpark because it's at elevation and or at sea level, and it's a decent sized park. So yeah, that's basically it.
Hey, we're bringing Roth on. I'm going to ask him, what do you think a good sample size is for Weather Edge? Because the weather right now, according to Weather Edge, and again, it has nothing to do with who's pitching, who's playing, what players they are, just the ballpark and the weather and how runs react. 74 previous games in Fenway based upon the very specific weather it's happening right now. It saw an increase of 13.6% homers and 4.6% in runs, and also an increase in ERA at 6%. So in theory, at least according to that, if you believe that sample size, it's a pretty good. No, it's not terrible. It's at worst.
It's not terrible, but also it's not looking at everything. It doesn't seem to fully I don't fully believe that as being the thing.
Compared to everywhere else, though, it's one of the best places to hit baseballs tonight.
I mean,
or Washington. How about that?
Washington is the main one where it's actually decent weather.
And who's pitching tonight for Washington?
Patrick Corbin.
Yeah, it can turn ugly for sure. That'll lead us to first base. Once upon a time, we used to love playing goalie versus a lefty. I guess we still do. Sure, why not?
I'm playing goalie against the lefty a lot.
I just feel like everybody's doing that. But yeah, like that's probably what you're supposed to do in cash as well. You got Fab Five Freddy in New York. Tyon, you don't really necessarily want to pick on good bullpen as well. And that lineup is weakened with Acuna being out. But Freddie Freeman for sure, if you want to spend up, or even as a one-off, I think he's kind of sort of someone interesting. And I wasn't kidding. The Pandas DHing tonight. Pablo Sandoval is playing some baseball tonight. He normally just pinch hits, and I think he has like 2 or 3 pinch hit homers this year or something like that.
Yeah,
he's super cheap on DK, 2.2K. If you need like a flat-out punt, I'm okay with it. What say you as far as first base? We gotta, I guess, pick it up a little bit because Ross coming on.
Okay,
we gotta get questions from the people.
Yeah, if you're spending up, it's Freeman, it's Goldschmidt, but I think I like Bell and Gurriel probably a little bit more. Bell is a bit cheaper. Wainwright not great versus lefties. Bell can obviously hit the ball very far. Brandon Belt is your cheap play. Vogelbach, if you want to go a little bit against the grain. Crone, still probably a little bit underpriced, even though he has been hitting well. It's in Coors. Not a bad matchup.
Every single day Joe Madden tilts me when he refuses to move Mike Trout up in the lineup. Like it's his decision, Grant. He chooses willingly, by choice. He wants Jared Walsh and David Fletcher to take more bats than the best baseball hitter of all time. Like, why would you do that?
There is relevance in it,
nah.
But not much. Like most of it's old way of thinking.
Oh, drives me because I figured maybe who's not playing baseball? Yeah, Otani's pitching, so they told him they're going to give him the day off as far as swinging. You got anything else at first base that's of note, or shall we jump to Daniel Vogelbach? By the way, is 2.7K for what it's worth. He's always a pinch hit risk. When a lefty comes in, he basically does get the hook. Last time out didn't happen because he was facing a team that only had one left-hander. I think he was kind of overworked, so they threw out all righties. First, anything else of notes, or shall we jump onto the old Keystone position?
Let's go second
base? What do you have for me as far as second base?
Guy batting leadoff for Atlanta, Adrianza, 2K.
It's just cheap, yeah.
Yeah, and he's 2K. Jazz, I think, is an interesting one going up against Harvey. He keeps just hitting bombs. Simeon is a solid play going up against a lefty. New lineup for Cincinnati: Winker, Nyquin, Suarez, Votto, Senzel, India, Barnhart, Farmer, Castillo. Right,
Mr. Steal Your Girl, Jesse Winker, the flirter.
Yep. Yeah. Obviously, in Coors, you can go with McMahon. Not really a ton else to love on this slate. LeMahieu, not a bad matchup going against Morton, who hasn't been as good this year. Segura going up against Webb. But I think the top option is just punting or throwing in your stack. Personally, I like McNeil. Suck it, Dean. But that's just me.
There's nothing sexy about McNeil. He's fine, whatever. But I guess, I mean, why not just get Jazz? Like, Jazz is sexy, man. He's
because I'm stacking up the Mets a lot.
Oh, well, you need some one-offs.
I mean, do I? I can go 5-3 or 4-4.
Well, you can't play all. They will DK and Vet. They would reject your lineup, so you play like 8 Mets. It doesn't work that way.
I know, but I don't need one-offs. I can do double stacks.
Sure. Yeah, I guess you can do that too. But Jazz, lefties against Harvey. We talk about that ballpark, not great, but better than most today at least. And he's taken a massive step forward. Like last year, he was a disaster. This year, he's stealing bases. He's banging out homers. He's a lot of fun. Pretty reasonable price as well too. You don't really like him buried in the hole at 6. In the 6 hole at home, probably only gets 4 ABs. Probably doesn't get a 5th. If he does, that means the Marlins are really, really well. Anything else of note at second that's worth pointing out? By the way, you should mention Belt. We don't really want to pick on, just kind of walk back a second.
I did mention Belt.
Did you mention Belt? Okay. Well,
yeah.
You don't listen to me. I don't listen to you.
Fully understand that.
That's why they say we have the best chemistry in the business. They say that, I believe.
Yeah, we don't need to listen to each other.
I don't know who says that. Probably nobody. Hey, third base. What do you have for me?
Real big fan of Arenado. Real big fan of Bregman. Obviously, 2 top spades pay up. Top spade pay down is Adrianza. 2K again. Brian Anderson's not bad. 3.5K going up against Harvey. McMahon, obviously a little bit priced out, but he's been crushing the ball this season. Playing in Coors, not a bad play. Outside of that, round out your stack. I'm probably not using JD Davis, but I think that you can still use Hunter Dozier, even in bad weather. Not the worst idea in the world.
If people are rostering Paddock, and it's certainly a will in FanDuel, I think I know it's going to tilt Cheese, or he's probably not listening. Who knows what he's up to? But the old leverage move, like Travis Shaw, like why not him? You want to stack against Paddock to kind of take advantage in the double leverage move, I suppose, but it's not really an appealing lineup. But
I think it's
Shaw's
better
got
to
the
do over on FanDuel because then you get actual direct leverage.
Correct. That's kind of what I was hinting at as well too. And what they're starting with 3 of the 4 leading off there are lefty power there against Paddock. Well, I don't know power, JBJ, but he's got a little speed, a little bit of power. It can happen on occasion, but I think Shaw is kind of sort of somewhat interesting there against Paddock if people are going to be rostering him. Anything else that's of note that's worth pointing out as far as third base? And again, Bregman, we don't know. Well, I'm keep hitting refresh here as far as the Houston lineup. The speculation is that he will be back tonight. We shall see. Still several hours until that game locks, obviously. So they still have time to pump out a lineup for us. Anything else for third? Or you want to jump to shortstop?
Sure, we got to get done before Roth gets in here.
Yeah, dude, pick up the pace.
All right. Well, I'm not the one slowing things down. Correa, Story, 2 top spend ups on the slate. Maybe Turner and Lindor right behind it. I love Lindor. Lindor is my favorite play at shortstop on the entire slate. Optimal point per dollar play is probably DeJong, followed shortly by Jazz. And then if you want to go with anything else, obviously you can take guys with some power, such as Torres, such as Bichette, such as Bogarts, if you want to kind of go off the chalk and Coors. But yeah, that's basically short. Should we move on to outfield?
Torres is still super cheap on FanDuel for what it's worth, like 2.5 or 2.6, kind of waiting for things to happen for him. Yeah, knock out the outfielders.
Coors guys, Tucker, Brantley, both have the platoon split, both underpriced, both fantastic. Obviously, the talent guys, Trout and Soto, definitely in play. A little bit tough to stack up the Angels, so Trout's more of a one-off for me. Calhoun, clear top cheap option on the entire slate. Other guys you can go with are some priced up guys, Stanton, Judge, Ozuna, Harper, all good plays. A little bit underpriced guys, Stewart, Upton, if you do want to make a little mini stack over the Angels, I don't mind Upton, Trout, Walsh. Blackman over in Coors, priced up, but again, it's Coors, it's Blackman, he's very good. Cheaper guys that might not draw a ton of ownership, Schwarber, Duvall, got both guys I really like. Love the outfield for the Mets. Conforto's one of my top owned guys on the slate. JD Martinez, a guy that's going to go drastically under owned. And you know what he does against lefties?
Does he? Well, it's just dingers. That's what they call him, right, JD?
Yeah, I guess so. But also,
have you not heard that before?
I mean, he's got like 1150 OPS, I think, on the season. Been crushing the ball, and obviously I don't think he did that great last year versus lefties.
He was horrific just across the board last year. But last year was a goofy year that
it was like 100 plate appearance sample size. It can happen to anyone.
I don't think you mentioned Cedic. Corey Dickerson leading off 3.1K, only available in the DK slate against Matt Harvey. He's one of my favorite cheapies. He's gonna bang out a homer to start the game. How about that? That's gonna happen. I was not gonna play the DK slate just because we're kind of like up against the clock on it, but I'm like, hey, I want to play Dickerson tonight. So I made a couple lineups before the show. I feel pretty good about him as far as the cheapie. And also, if you want to talk to the whole leverage conversation and the salaries work too, if salaries matter to you, Luis Castillo, we've already determined that's no secret. He's super, super popular on DK for obvious reasons, 6.6K, but he has stumbled a bit. The velocity is not exactly where you want him to be. David Peralta's 3.3, Calhoun's 2.5. This is DK, these prices. Pavin Smith, I'm not as excited about that, 2.9K, but that just seems too cheap for Calhoun and Peralta at 2.5 and 3.3. So I don't hate the idea if you're not playing Castillo, to run Peralta or Calhoun at him. All right. Well, we're going to put our stacks conversation on layaway.
It's the Mets and the Cardinals.
Well, there. Okay. Think of some guys that are a homer as well too. We're gonna send it over to Roth in just a second. He's gonna give us a little weather analysis. What's up, Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth?
Hey, what's up, guys? You can hear me?
Yes, sir. I believe you have a screen share. You're going to show the people what's going on weather-wise. The board is yours.
I think so. Shout out to Devin real quick for just the incredible technology looping through like 6 different sources here. But the big question is all in Cincinnati, right? That's all anyone cares about?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and all the other spots, like there's a chance for some rain late in Cleveland, but all in all, I think it's going to be fine. By the way, did you get this Soto scratch news?
Just happened.
No, but thank you. Look at you. You're all over the place with the reports as far as who's getting scratched. That's a big deal, but go ahead, continue.
Yeah, I've got, if you don't have the Rotogrinders alerts, got to sign up for it. Even, someone like me who doesn't know much about baseball, you get those Rotogrinders alerts, helps you out. But getting to the point here, hopefully you guys can see this radar that's up. The main line is still well back to the west, and that's going to arrive later. And that was my primary concern today. That's not going to be an issue for pitchers. What's happening now is we're starting to see showers out ahead of the main line. And this batch that's just popping up now, that could be enough to trigger a late start. And if that's a late start, now we're squeezing that time frame, that available dry time frame that we have, even tighter. The bottom line is people are going to want to know, can I play pitcher? And do I think pitcher still works out? I think it does. I think probably you have just enough time and it's going to work out okay. But if you want to know, is this a safe play? It is not. I mean, I think this batch of rain that we're just seeing now is too heavy. They're going to late start. We could see another batch. But
Roth,
yeah,
the big question is, are we basically good to go unless we get a late start warning? Like, it's basically, it'll be fine. Or if there's a late start, it's for sure in a real dicey scenario.
No, I wish that was the case, but no, I don't think that's true. Even if they play it on time, we could still see more of what we're seeing right now, these little spotty showers that are moving up through the area. We could get another one of those that moves through in-game that causes an in-game delay. I don't think that's overly likely because, let's see, hopefully you guys can see this. What's building upstream is likely going to pass just east, but we could still get an in-game delay. I think it's going to work out for pitchers, but if you wanted the safe play, this sure as hell ain't it.
People want a percentage, Roth. Can you put a percentage on it? I know you hate doing that, but
sure.
is there?
Yeah, I can. Sure. Percentage of an in-game delay, 20%. Percentage of a late start is increasing, but bottom line, the percentage that pitchers work out for you is probably going to be somewhere around 75%.
All right, I'm okay with that. What do you think, Grizz? Does that work for you, Grant? I think 75% is pretty good.
I mean, the main thing is I'm already fading Castillo because he's far too high owned.
Roth, how mad are you? Earlier in the day, Roth, you gave Pittsburgh, Detroit a red. You said, I think your weather analysis was like, ha, LOL, or something like that. Basically, you're just like, no chance. Like this, you now waved it. You want the victory lap. You called that like 6 hours ago.
I wish I could just sit on my laurels and take my Lowell Nope forecast from 5 a.m. But no, we've got, more difficult forecasts to come, and that's how it goes, man. You don't get to victory lap until they're all done. Again, I think a late start looks pretty likely, but it wouldn't be a long late start. It would still be quick enough where they could get the majority of the game in, if not the whole game, before this main line starts to move in. But boy, it's a dicey one. So if you have no risk tolerance, don't do it, or just be like Grant and say, hey, it's too chalky in tournaments. I don't want any part of it. But if you have the risk tolerance, I think we might just have the window there.
If I hear late start, should I downgrade or should I freak out? Or I have the same level of confidence either way. Late start, no late start, same level.
I have the same level. I have pretty much the same level either way, honestly. At this point, I think the late start is fairly likely because I don't think they can warm up. They're going to pull everybody inside once this goes over. I doubt they can warm up in this. So, yeah, hey, Rob, I'm at the same spot whether they late start or don't.
Since we have you, we kind of referenced it a couple of times throughout the show, the weather edge. What number sample size do you feel good about? How many games do you need to say okay, this is, and what percentage? Because we're looking at the Boston game. Boston, based upon 74 games, home runs got a bump at 13.6%, runs at 4.6%. Is that a big enough sample size? Obviously, you want 200 games, 250 if you can get it. Is that enough that you care? Should we acknowledge that or what?
So I look for two things. One, sample size, probably 50 plus sample size wise. And then as far as the statistics go, I want to see maybe a 20% increase to home runs, 10% increase to runs, or decrease, whatever it may be. But if you can get a good sample size with a 20-10 split on those, I feel like that's telling you, the weather is significant here. So that's usually what I'm looking for. And I always just want to make sure it makes sense. Does it make sense with the weather that I'm seeing? And generally it does. And if it doesn't, it's probably a sample size issue.
You're gonna be back in 10 minutes for crunch time, right?
Yeah. I'm here for crunch time. We're gonna be doing baseball all the way up until the second baseball lock, and then we're going to do basketball up to that. By the way, David Bote
Yep.
scratch.
Bodie.
Yeah, Bote.
David
Really
Bote.
that one doesn't matter much.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll just. I feel good about my Soto help still, but
Thank you.
yeah, I'm going to be on crunch time. So if you guys still have more questions about the weather, or you want to glean more baseball and NBA knowledge, tune in for crunch time.
And Weather Edge, the people, they can get that a la carte or just get it comes to the RG package, I suppose. Which is the better route if one more want to purchase that?
You can get it if you can get it for $14.99 a month if you just want to buy that individually. But you can also get a Rotogrinders Premium for what, $30-$40 a month, and that's included, which to me seems the better route. But you guys do whatever works for you.
There you go. Roth, we'll talk to you in about 10 minutes or so. Appreciate it.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks.
All right. We're going to swap out Roth we always say Devin, our producer, fabulous multitasking producer. He wasn't kidding. Devin's multitasking all over the place. Roth could attest to that. I believe Devin has been compiling the people's questions out there in chat. What up, chat? Like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Again, a reminder, Crunch Time's coming up behind us. Roth's going to be hosting. He'll update any sort of weather that needs to be updated. And I'm sure something might change, or maybe something changes in the next 15 minutes or so. That first pitch is not for 19 minutes there in Cincinnati. Talking some basketball, talking some baseball. Of course, the FanDuel slate does not start till 7:05. Devin, can you hear me? Are you with me?
I can hear you. I am with you, and yeah, I'm multitasking today. Feels like I'm back in the first few years of doing this. I'm warm over here, Dean.
You're in the zone right now. Everybody's getting scratched.
Right? My goodness.
Heads are falling off.
Good
What's
day
going
to
on
play
as far as
single
this
entry,
league?
that's for sure. So yeah, we have plenty of questions saved. I'm just gonna go ahead and start with. Oh, that's not supposed to happen. Let's start with Oki. Wants to know Keller for all the monies. I think we can touch on that one plenty.
For some of the monies.
For some of the monies. Yet to be seen.
For Dean to drink beer.
Dean, I mean, Grant, it just sounds like you want to chug a beer. So if you have one handy, just reach for it.
No,
I
don't.
You don't want to show off your beer skills?
Do you have any super draft plays handy?
Super draft plays. That's why I think we have. Do we have Lineup HQ for? Are you asking baseball or basketball?
That is today. Yeah, we actually just got support for that. I think this was a question for the basketball show. But
Cat is one of the top options. Zion is a decent tournament option. He's at 1.1x, so I don't expect him to be terribly high owned. Randall, Wendell Carter Jr., two great options. Yeah, outside that, Paul George probably. Fox is a very good option. McCollum. Like, those are kind of the core guys you're going with outside of Carter, who I just like for tournaments.
All right. Do one of you guys want to do DK, FanDuel? How do you want to split this? Maybe Grant do
Whatever
tournament?
you want to do, Grant. I'm versatile.
I'll do tournaments.
Tournament and cash. Let's do that.
All right.
Stan wants to know.
There'll be no questions for cash. Nobody cares about
Just
cash.
be quiet, Dean. Stan wants to know, DK tournament, any Walker for the Mets?
Yeah, he's fine. It's good pitching weather.
Jacob, we talked on the Moose going to IL. Does that change Gallon for you? I think Dean had more of a movement from that, right?
Yeah, I'm still not playing a ton of Gallon. He's fine, like especially with the Castillo news. I think that he's more in play now, but he's probably fifth on my list of pitchers under the Corbin price range.
Dean, it looks like you have something you want to say.
I was pulling up Play IQ because I wanted to see who they replaced him with. I haven't seen who the new person swinging a bat is today for Cincinnati.
The professional hitter from Cincinnati.
Yeah.
It was, you already talked about it. It was Winker, wasn't it?
Oh, No, he was leading off. I think they added Farmer.
Old McDonald. Reeser wants to know, does anyone think that Hill's pick on FanDuel looks like Jack from Will and Grace?
Which one is Jack?
I don't know. I've actually only seen commercials from it, but I'm pretty sure I know which character it looks like.
Yeah, I know. He's been in a lot of things.
Garrett
Rich Hill,
yes, on FanDuel. Garrett wants to know, Grant, if I'm stacking STL, what team do you like as a secondary stack with them?
I'm mostly stacking up the Mets with them, but I think Washington's a good one. It depends on what you're doing at pitcher. But, I mean, my favorite stacks are St. Louis, Houston, Colorado, obviously, Mets, and Washington. A little bit of Atlanta in there, too.
I wanted to ask, while we have any more questions loaded up in chat as we're coming up to lineup lock here, got about 4.5 minutes. I wanted to ask, did you guys see that clip from the Braves Cubs game where Rizzo was chasing down Freddie Freeman and he shouts, "Frederick, Freddie!"
I see I saw the screenshot where they're all smiling.
Yeah.
There are a few things on Twitter that I will like bookmark and put in archive. That was immediate. I was like, this is gold. If you don't know what I'm talking about out there, go look it up. It's hilarious.
During spring training, they had mics on the players, and Rizzo was just a blast. Like he was talking while he was at the plate.
That might have been where this is from because it was audible. Like it sounded like he was mic'd up.
Yeah. Let's just do that forever. Like put the mics on the players. So let's have a good time.
That was a blast.
Aguilar for the Marlins seems like a blast at first base. Yeah, but we don't
just a barrel full of monkeys. Adrian wants to know, FanDuel pitching. I missed the start. Would you pay up for Burns or would you go for the value in Paddock?
It's one of those two options. Those are the two options.
Those are your two options.
I'm paying up for Burns for most of my lineups for the record. It's not that hard to make him work, and he's the clear best pitcher in my opinion.
Let's see while we wait on some questions. What's some chalk that you're fading, Grant? Other than Castillo.
Yeah, it's Castillo. I mean, what's the chalky bats outside of Houston, Colorado, which I'm already playing like?
Do we have a Houston lineup yet, or still we're waiting?
Still waiting, I believe. I'll double check right here, but like chalk, I mean, I don't know who's the chalkiest stack on the slate outside of the Houston game.
Do you love that game in general? I don't love the Coors game. I think I'll get some pieces here and there, but I don't love that game.
I have money to pay up since I'm not playing Paddock and Burns.
Stan was curious about a tournament stack of Colorado for DK. You're not a fan of that?
I mean, I like the mini stack of Colorado with the main guys like McMahon, Story, Blackman. People are going to be paying up for Corbin and apparently a decent amount for Paddock. So I don't expect McMahon, Story, or Blackman to be very heavily owned, and you can throw Crone in there too.
Andrew Stevenson, by the way, leading off today for Washington, taking that Soto spot. He's interesting. He's not a terrible player, and he's like 2-2 on FanDuel and 3K on DK. So I think he's playable, and I think that matters. If you're looking for a cheapie, he's fine.
Yeah, I just swapped all the way over from Soto just to Trout and JD because I didn't have time. But
JD for me as
those guys are good too. Trout and JD, yeah, they're pretty good hitters.
I just had to entirely change my lineups, and if I didn't just do that, so I just
dump those Mets, man. What are you doing? You're throwing money away.
Mets are going to score 10 runs here.
No, they're not. They're not going to score 10 runs.
More than likely they're not. Otherwise, I'd be betting the over. But
for Grant's sake,
more chance than people believe.
For Grant's sake, Dean, just keep besmirching it because we all know the rules of DFS. The one that you besmirch the most is the one that hits the Grand Slam.
I thought it was just the one that I talk about the most is the one that hits the Grand Slam.
It goes for the cycle.
Mush, apparently.
Brendan wants to know top hitters in a Blue Jays stack.
Same guys as pretty much every single day. Bichette is probably one of the main pieces. I'm trying to pull. Yeah, Vlad, obviously. Simeon, Grichuk, Gurriel.
Gurriel's really cheap on FanDuel, like 2.2, 2.3. Kirk, I like as a punt on DK at 2.9K.
Kirk is the best catcher option.
CEO of Team Girth? No, COO. Sorry about that. My apologies to Daniel Vogelbach.
Well, we are all out of questions, and we're just about a minute out from lineup lock for DK. Do you guys want to go ahead and bring in the Crunch Time crew, and we can just start transitioning over?
Yeah, let's have some banter. Can we have a minute of crosstalk?
Why not? Let's do it.
Banter?
We got
Crossfire. You don't get caught up in the crossfire.
Garrett wants to know on DK, Mullins or Grichuk?
Grichuk.
Man, I wish Baltimore was like better at hitting baseballs because this Marlins pitcher is not
trash.
He's not good. Like he's not striking people out and he's walking too many dudes. Baltimore's locked in for 9 innings. That Marlins bullpen is not projected to be good. It's like a bottom 6, bottom 7 coming into the season. It's unfortunate that Baltimore's not, but nobody's playing Baltimore. And I think they're a little bit interesting in this slate. Baltimore's going to outscore the Mets. Boom, take that.
I mean, they do have a higher implied run total. That was a real bold strategy. Just do that.
It's the Baltimore Orioles. They haven't been relevant since like Cal Ripken days.
Yeah, but they're also not playing in 37-degree weather.
Wait, so weather matters? So why would you play the team that's playing?
Because they're not going to be heavily owned, and Arrieta's due for some huge negative regression. Baseball tournaments is more than just about the actual numbers. It's about what other people will do. It's why game theory is a thing.
What is this game theory you speak of?
Say hello to the Crunch Time crew.
Hey,
Cards, can you tell Grant
guys?
he should swap off all his Mets nonsense?
I mean, Grant's about like 103 on picking pitching props this year. I'm not going to question Grant on anything. He's only made, a small fortune over the last few weeks. So, I mean, whatever he says goes is my thought at this point.
He knows arms. He doesn't know sticks.
Oh, I know the arm going up against the sticks is bad.
Arrieta's bad, but it's really cold. I can't see playing a lot of bats in Chicago tonight for what it's worth.
Are you boots on the ground? How close are you to Chicago?
An hour and a half or so. I mean, it's cold.
I am.
Yeah, it means he's right there.
Andy, what do you have for us?
It's not that cold.
You got a balcony?
Yeah. You want me to walk out there right now? I don't think the camera's going with me.
I love how much weather matters. It's amazing how much you guys admit weather matters. It just makes me feel so warm inside.
We just logged in, and I've got 5 minutes until my DraftKings lineups lock, Roth, and I did not watch any of the last 30 minutes because I was driving home. Is my pitcher in Cincinnati okay?
I've only got 30 seconds. Or what?
Take Soto out, Cards.
Take Soto out.
I have no Soto. We're good there.
All right.
I think it's going to work
Grant
out.
Should go. Is that
it? Yes. I think it's time for you guys to go back.
Bye,
hey,
Dean.
that
Bye,
was
Grant.
just a fantastic handoff. Good to see you guys.
All right, suck it, Dean. See you guys.
Howdy, y'all. Holler. Be good.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, that was a pretty smooth transition, I think. Dean is still here. He's awkwardly. Am I here? Am I out? Yeah, there he goes. All right, he's gone. Hey guys, welcome to Crunch Time. This is the premium show that we do every single day leading up to lock. Today we're doing it up until baseball lock, and then we're doing it up until NBA lock as well. Talking basketball later on in the show, we got Mr. Andy Means. Say hello, Means.
Hi guys, how's it going?
Hey, it's good. Busy. Talking baseball, we have STL Cards, aka Justin Van Zuden, or Justin Van Zuden, aka STL Cards. What up, man?
Yeah, what's up? This is going to be a fun night. We've got 8 minutes until that Cincinnati game locks. So even for people who have played lineups on DraftKings, the only game that locked right at 6:30 was the first game of that doubleheader in Oakland. We've got a couple games at 6:35, and then we've got the big Cincinnati game at 6:40, which has pitchers that are interesting on both sides. So I think it's worth, for the people who might not have been tuned in for the last 15, 20 minutes, they're just now tuning in for Crunch Time, to give them just a quick lay. This includes myself of how to handle Cincinnati here.
Okay, well, this kind of changed my thinking on a little bit. This is a tweet from Mark Sheldon, who is a Reds beat reporter. This was as of 15 minutes ago. He says, the game will start on time at 6:40, the Reds say. That changes things because, one, it's raining right now in Cincinnati, and that tells me they're okay playing through some showers. I really thought they might just late start it, which would really squeeze down our time that we have to get in this game before the main line arrives. But them starting on time, and the fact that there's nothing immediately right upstream that's gonna wreak havoc, tells me I'm playing pitchers here. Is it 100% safe? Absolutely not. No, it's not. There could still be more pop-ups that form. In fact, there will be more pop-ups that form, but there's not a 100% chance that those new forming storms are going to go right over the ballpark. And it looks like they're okay maybe playing through some rain based on the fact that they're not late starting for a pretty good amount of rain that's moving over them right now during warmups. I think 75, 80%, if you play pitchers here, it works out for you. The only thing that could go wrong is a heavy shower pops up right upstream and moves right over the ballpark. And that is certainly a legitimate and real possibility. But I just saw this note. We'll get to that. But in general, I think it probably works out. And Cards, these are the best pitchers on the slate, right? Like, these are the guys you have to have.
Yeah, I mean, the Cincinnati pitcher, Castillo, is probably about $1,500 too cheap on DraftKings. He's the obvious choice tonight. I mean, we got him at 40% owned, even with the weather concerns. It's just hard to ignore him against a pretty weak lineup at that salary. Obviously, his start to the year has been a little bit inconsistent, but that's reflected in that price tag. And Arizona is only projected for about 3.4 runs, and the Castillo 6,600. That's just too cheap. I've taken a chance on it. I think that even if The disastrous thing would be what happened with the Mets that one day when they just decided they were going to try to do the same thing and they got like 5 pitches into the game and then they quit.
Sure, but that when I saw that happening, I said to myself, "There's no freaking way this is going to work." And I'm not saying that about this game. Like,
so this rain is not as heavy as the Mets that day.
And there's nothing upstream right now. The Mets, I was looking at what was upstream. It was coming. It was about to run them over undeniably, and that's not the case here. Right now, there's nothing upstream. Don't fade the best pitcher on the slate for a pop-up shower that could happen. Don't do it. And maybe it happens and maybe it ruins you, but don't fade the best play on the slate for something that might happen and might go over the ballpark and might be heavy enough to cause a delay. So I think you play it. You're 80% chance it works out for you. I think you play it.
Yeah. So that's kind of the main thing with these DraftKings games that lock here within the next 5 minutes. The Atlanta Yankees game is locking right now at 6:35. Really the only, super exciting hitter on these couple of games is Adrianza because he's leading off for the Braves and he's 2K on DraftKings. That has some value on this slate if you're trying to fit in a stud starting pitcher and you're trying to play some bats in Coors Field. So really outside of that, you can largely ignore the bats in these early games. I mean, the one that already started is a 7-inning doubleheader game. The Cincinnati game, we're not too excited about bats. The Detroit-Pittsburgh game is postponed. I know Dean was kind of talking right as we came on. He kind of likes Baltimore a little bit. So they would maybe be the one offense that I think is sneaky for a tournament stack. But otherwise, I think, you start building your lineups here with these 7:00 games. And, I'll focus the discussion a little bit more on FanDuel just because the DraftKings slate is already locked and the guys talked about that more on the earlier show. But just quick here before those last few games locked at 6:40, I just wanted to touch on a few DraftKings notes there. So
go for it. Yeah, let's hit on those real quick. Also means very, very fast. Having fun over there? What just happened?
No, I'm good. You guys talk baseball. I'll just go through this Kawhi news. Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
All right. Kawhi ruled out. Means he will be handling that. Cards. Let's talk some baseball.
All right. Yeah. So the 6:30 games, I think we've covered. Adrianza as a value, Castillo, even Gallen on the Arizona side, I think is interesting from a pitching perspective. Moustakas is on the injured list for Cincinnati now. So their lineup's a little bit weaker. And the news that broke right before we went on the air, Juan Soto is out for Washington. And he's been placed on the 10-day IL, I believe, as well. So that's going to put a damper on the Washington lineup. I did like them a decent bit against, Wainwright, who's obviously a favorite of mine as a Cardinal, but declining in pretty ugly numbers through his first few starts. But matchup gets a little bit of an upgrade there with Soto out. That's a big hole in that Washington lineup. So I don't think there's a whole lot else DK specific. If anybody has questions, obviously on the DK slate, with being able to swap the players that are in the later lineups, we'll certainly take those in a few minutes. Otherwise, I will largely reference FanDuel pricing here in my. I believe we had a question there. I did not hear it though. Dickerson and Cash is a question that somebody was asking. Yeah, I think he's fine. He's what was his price tag there on DraftKings? Super cheap, like 20. He's 3,100 on DraftKings and facing Harvey. Cheese did tag him as a core play. I tagged him as a conviction play. He's got the 4 dots in lineup HQ. So I don't love the Marlins as a whole. I mean, Harvey's been pitching better. So not like the old days where we used to just stack against Matt Harvey and move on. I don't love the Marlins in that capacity tonight, but I do think Dickerson is fine. Particularly in cash games or even as a one-off in tournaments for value.
All right. Keep rolling. I'm kind of trying to tweet out links and do the other.
Yeah, no problem. I'll start digging into pitching here. So obviously, DraftKings, we have Castillo. FanDuel, we don't have that game. So you're going to see ownership kind of pivot off to the other pitchers. And Paddock is the one guy that's going to be a lot more interesting on FanDuel than he is on DK because there's like a $3,000 price difference. I think he's GPP only on DraftKings, but FanDuel, Paddock at 6,900. Fine play there. You look at the Brewers lineup, they don't have Yelich, they don't have Wong. It's a depleted lineup. The bottom half of that lineup is really weak. I think Paddock is a fine play here, particularly if you're not playing Burns. That game just features pitching and the total's like 6 runs. Both guys are fine. And on FanDuel, you're only playing 1. So Paddock is a really nice pivot if you do think that maybe the Padres get to Burns a little bit. And I mean, it's hard to envision Burns having a bad game. Like, you look at his numbers, 30 strikeouts and no walks in his first 3 starts. Some of the more ridiculous numbers you'll see throughout the month of April. I think Cardi tweeted out earlier today that that Burns ranks as his number 4 overall pitcher behind DeGrom and Cole and maybe Scherzer. I can't remember who the third one was for the rest of the year. So Burns is fine. Paddock is fine. That game should feature a lot of pitching. And the rest of the slate is somewhat ugly from a pitching perspective when you're only including the 7 p.m. games and later. So Corbin will get some attention because he's super cheap. He's gotten absolutely shelled to start the year. I don't know if he's fully healthy. They're already minus Strasburg. They need some innings out of their starter. Joe Ross got hit around by the Cardinals last night. So Corbin, I think, is a little bit risky. But, I mean, when he's on, he certainly has the potential to be a top 3 or 4 pitching scorer on the slate. I do like him better than Wheeler. Not on Wheeler tonight. Just a little too expensive. San Francisco's a pesky lineup. I just don't see the upside in Wheeler. I know he's had a few more strikeouts throughout his first couple of starts, but the walks have been up too. So Wheeler is out for me. I X'd him out and basically X'd out most of the other pitchers as well. Ohtani, you know, you might see some people talking about him, but he's going to be limited to 75 pitches tonight, his first start in a couple of weeks. You know, guys like Keller and Rodriguez, I think you could sprinkle in GPPs, but I don't love it. I think it's clearly either Paddock or Burns in most lineups tonight. And then, you know, maybe you sprinkle in Corbin or Keller or Rodriguez in GPPs. But it's, you know, pretty straightforward for pitching on FanDuel tonight.
Okay, let's talk about the bats.
All right. Real quick, I guess, before we dig too deep into the bats, weather in Coors. I know it's cold. What does the old Weather Edge tool say about cooler weather in Denver when it's at least not raining?
I think the general answer was didn't care that much, but if you can hold for me for roughly.
Sorry, I should have given you a little bit of a heads
up.
up to pull that up. I didn't lead into that very well.
We're all good. I've always got it up right here. Okay, so in 62 similar weather games in Coors, which includes temperatures within 5 degrees of 38 degrees on either side, and winds within 4 miles per hour of 5 miles per hour, we see a home run percentage dip 13%, total runs dip 8%. So yes, there is some dip, but I don't think it's slate breaking.
Yeah, we still have 10.5 as a total there, so that's still fairly decent.
In general, is it as good as Colorado normally is? No, it's probably a hair worse. But is it still the best hitting spot in the world because it's Colorado, even with the worst weather? Yes, I think it is.
Yeah, so you can certainly get your exposure to Coors tonight. We got a couple underwhelming pitchers in that game. So as far as I know, we still don't have a Houston lineup. I've tried refreshing a few times. I haven't seen anything come out since we've got on the air. They are potentially getting some guys back from the COVID list tonight, and that is probably the reason for the delay in their lineup. I think Bregman had to pass maybe one more negative COVID test before he can be reactivated. So the Houston's probably waiting on those results. That might make this a little bit hairy when it comes to getting the Houston lineup in time and getting some swaps in there if needed. So just make sure you're keeping an eye out for that Houston lineup once it finally gets released. Our projected lineups do have Bregman in there, presuming that he is activated today, but nothing official just yet. So just keep an eye out for that. I don't think you're playing a catcher on FanDuel tonight. It's that simple. We've got one catcher above 3% projected ownership. That's Real Muto. I think he's fine. You can play him if you want. You don't have to play him. The Phillies are kind of some surprising chalk tonight. You'll see that in a lot of positions. It's basically Coors at the top, and then it's Philly. So I'm maybe a little bit lower on Philly in terms of GPP stacks just because there are other teams in good spots tonight. Washington's in a good spot. The Cardinals, if you're kind of not a believer in Corbin with the way he started the year, Boston is a team that's proven this year that maybe they're a little bit more explosive offensively. So just based on ownership and game theory, I'll probably be underweight the Phillies tonight. First base, I do like Josh Bell a good bit. He's probably my favorite Washington bat tonight. If you look at Wainwright's splits, he struggles a lot more against lefty bats throughout his career. Bell is only 3K on FanDuel. He's pretty affordable on DK as well. So I think you can play him either standalone at first base or as part of your Washington stacks. Walsh is more interesting on FanDuel with his price. Again, another guy, he's over 5K on DraftKings. probably not paying that tag over there. You can go to Coors with Gurriel if you like. Again, pending that Houston lineup, which I believe is the only one that's not out yet. Dominic Smith, Goldschmidt, those are other guys that are maybe on my GPP radar. It's a pretty deep position tonight. So I think you can get a little bit creative at first base. You're going to get a lot of guys that go under-owned. Even CJ Cron in that Coors game, always a potential for him to have a 2 home run night. So like him at first base.
Second.
All right, second base again. You're going to see Philly. This is start of, if we look at Segura, 23% projected owned on FanDuel. You can play him at third base also, so that's kind of where that ownership creeps up a little bit more. And just with all of their guys that are in COVID protocols, the lineup lacks a little bit of depth. So Real Muto, Segura, Harper, all those guys are getting ownership tonight, and I just think I'd rather pivot to other options. So at second base, that would be somebody like Marcus Semien and Biggio. Biggio's back for Toronto now. Biggio will go a little bit less owned because it's lefty against Rodriguez, but we've seen him blow up in some spots before. So Biggio, Semien, they've got that new kind of multi-position eligibility, second, third, short on FanDuel. A lot of players have that dual second base, third base eligibility. So kind of just rolling the middle infield spots here all together. Tommy Edman, I don't mind leading off against Corbin. Not really sure what to make of the Angels. Their lineup's a little bit weird tonight, but I never hate targeting guys against Jordan Lyles. And as a matter of fact, I'm gonna sort my lineup HQ now just by the Angels lineup. And if you look at kind of our projected owned for the Angels lineup, you obviously have Trout and you have Walsh and you have Upton. Those 3 guys are getting ownership tonight. But everybody else in that Angels lineup comes in at 5% or less. So I do think that the Angels are an intriguing GPP stack. I do think that Fletcher will maybe carry a little bit more ownership. Again, he's second base, shortstop. We've got him at 3%. I think that might creep up towards maybe 8 or 9, given his $2,900 price tag there. So Fletcher, I think, is an interesting component of a GPP stack. You do have Schebler there at min salary as well, who's just coming back, and he's 2K. Maybe a little bit more intrigue for him on DraftKings, where that 2K salary means a little bit more than it does on FanDuel. But I do kind of like the Angels tonight, particularly the ones that aren't going to be as chalky. They were a bit of a letdown as a popular team last night, so always good for the potential bounce back game there.
Okay, let's keep going.
All right, shortstop. I think you're either spending up on one of the studs or you're playing Paul DeJong. It's basically what it comes down to. DeJong is maddening as a Cardinals fan. I mean, he goes through stretches where he can't hit the ball, and then he'll hit everything. 2 home runs last night. Does look locked in right now. He's 2,800 on FanDuel. He's $12 on Yahoo. That's too cheap for a hitter with his home run upside. But there is opportunity cost at the position because you have Trey Turner, you have Trevor Story at Coors, you've got Correa at Coors, you've got Bichette. I mean, there are a lot of shortstop options tonight. So it kind of surprises me, given the fact that there are so many options, that we've got the 4 tags on DeJong, but yet he's not going to be massive chalk. So I think you can really go, if you're stacking, you can play whoever you're stacking. I do think it's a good night to, let's see, hang on, I'm getting some lineup alerts here. Still no Houston.
And do you have a tournament favorite out of those other shortstops?
To me, it really depends on where you think the ownership's going to fall. So we've got Story at 27, Turner at 24, Semien at 21, DeJong at 7. Like, DeJong is obvious if he's only going to be 7%. I do think Lindor is okay. I know I kind of teased Grant at the end of the previous show about not playing too many Mets, but if I do play a Met in tournaments tonight, it's probably Lindor as a one-off. And then depending on that Houston lineup, if Bregman's back in that Houston lineup at Coors, it just makes that whole lineup top to bottom so much better. So I think that does upgrade Correa a bit as well. And those are all guys that we have with a little less ownership than Story and Turner. So that would be the way to go in tournaments. I do think on FanDuel, you can play 2 shortstops tonight, play one in your utility spot and get, extra exposure that way. So Third base, I talked about a lot of these guys because of all the multi-position eligibility. Maybe the two that I didn't mention, obviously Bregman, if he's back. And, obviously we shouldn't expect any restrictions if he's in the lineup. It's not like he was battling COVID for 2 weeks. He was just in the protocols and he's tested negative.
And it's baseball. You literally barely have to move. You just swing a stick.
Yeah. I mean, he's hitting in Coors, maybe if he was facing Max Scherzer or something, he'd ask out of the lineup for another day. But against the Rockies pitching staff in Coors, you think he'll try to pad the stats a little bit. And Arenado against the lefty is always in play. So those two guys are the two that that don't have multi-position eligibility that I am interested in. So we'll wrap it up with outfield here, and then we can take the last 10 minutes or so for questions. Still no Houston lineup, and the Cubs have scratched David Bodie. That was kind of right around when we came on the air. So Sogard is in for David Bodie. I don't think anybody was probably playing him anyway.
Any interest in the new guy, Sogard?
No, he's hitting 8th in bad weather, and I actually don't mind the pitcher for the Mets. I don't think I mentioned Taijuan Walker, but I think he's in play for GPPs also at pitcher. Lots of strikeouts in that Cubs lineup. It's cold, not a high total in that game. So, yeah, add Walker to your GPP pool. Outfield, I kind of talked about, Trout. The common outfield build tonight is probably going to be like 2 spend-ups. Yep.
The Astros activated Bregman, Yordan Alvarez, Maldonado, and Garcia today. Bregman and Maldonado are in the lineup tonight.
All right, so that's what we had projected. We had Bregman and we had Maldonado in the lineup. We did not have Alvarez in the lineup because they're playing in Coors and they don't have the DH. So, assuming that news jives with what we had, so I think our lineup, the projected lineup, might end up matching. Outside of seeing that alert, I haven't seen a full lineup yet, but we'll certainly pass that along if it comes out. But we did have Bregman, we did have Maldonado in the lineup, and we did have Alvarez out, even though we expected him to be activated. So That's a good sign. And kudos to Meansy actually with the assist and helping us get that figured out in lineup HQ this morning. So
the Meansy dance.
Yeah, he did. He passed it along and got the consensus to get Bregman in there. So kudos. I just felt like he deserved a shout out, since he
needs it.
Hanging out, building his basketball lineups there. Okay. All right. So I expect the consensus in the outfield to be 2 spend ups and like 1 cheaper guy. And your spend ups are probably between Tucker, Trout, and Harper. I rank them in that order. I'm not as high on Harper. Again, Phillies are kind of chalky. Harper's expensive. And Brantley, I think would be in that mix as well. And I'll take the Houston Bats and Coors. Again, I like that lineup. And the mid-range guys, Upton, Meadows, Kyle Schwarber, throw Blackman in that mix. Those are maybe what people are thinking of as their third option. I like Schwarber with his power upside against a pitcher that struggles with lefties and doesn't strike a lot of guys out. That's Schwarber's weakness. So you get a pitch to contact pitcher in there against him. I think Schwarber has a decent night tonight, at least a chance to go deep. And then you do have 2K Matt Joyce leading off again for the Phillies, who are going to be popular tonight. I get it. He's 2K. He's leading off. You can certainly play him if you want. There is some pinch hit risk there though. And a 2K guy that's chalk, always some potential to go underweight on him in tournaments. So that's my quick and dirty. I know we've I probably missed a few along the way, but we're down to about 12 minutes, and I want to make sure that people get their questions, and then we can get to hoops. So I will stop.
Before we take some questions, can we talk stacks real fast? You got
Yeah. I think Houston is my favorite, and obviously they will be popular. Washington is probably second-ish on my list. And I do like the Angels as well, particularly the ones that aren't going to be as popular. If you want one that's going to be totally off the board, we do have every single Boston hitter at 5% owned or less. And yes, I know it's Ryu, and he doesn't get blown up a lot. But if you look at what Boston did yesterday to Lucas Giolito, is one of the best pitchers in the league. 8 of their first 9 batters reached base, and they ended up scoring, 11 or 12 runs, whatever it was. That's what we were used to from the old Boston. And, if JD Martinez is going to hit, that lineup is just so much better than what it showed last year. So with all of them at 5% owned or less, if you're looking for the YOLO stack tonight, I will go with Boston.
Okay, wonderful. That was actually one of the questions here in the Discord. How about before?
Literally, that's what it said. The YOLO. What's the YOLO?
It did not
stack?
say what is your YOLO
okay.
stack, but it did say is a Red Sox stack on FanDuel okay, and the
perfect.
answer is yes.
I like it. Yes, I do like it.
Okay. Real quick, do you have a guy of like a conviction play, a Cards stamp of approval that you're going to be well over the field on?
On FanDuel, I think it's either Schwarber or Bell, which pains me to say it because they're facing the Cardinals. So I'm sitting here, talking them up and then hoping really that they have a bad night.
Right.
But bias aside, I like those guys at their salaries and Charlie Blackmon too at only 11% ownership at home. You don't see that too often. So, Bregman and Brantley are the chalk guys that I like. But if you're looking for a little more under the radar, give me Schwarber and Blackmon.
Okay, excellent. I think we can open it up for questions, and I don't know. I'm not sure there's really going to be enough to take us all the way to lock, but let's get to it. We'll start with Jay. He says, FanDuel Cash, Blackmon, who you just touted, versus Brantley.
Yeah, in cash, I think I'd still go Brantley. I think he gives you a higher floor. He's gotten off to a good start to the year. He's got more support around him. With Bregman being back in there, that just elevates that lineup a little bit. So I don't think it's necessarily wrong to play Blackmon, but I would prefer him more as a tournament pivot and Brantley in cash.
All right. We'll go to C. Guttards. He says, FanDuel GPP, what are your thoughts on a Ranger stack with Corbin Burns?
The Rangers are always. I've tried to stack the Rangers a lot already with far too little success. Their lineup it's just not deep, and there's so many strikeouts in that lineup. It's just so hard for them to string big innings together. I know they ended up with 6 runs last night and maybe had one decent inning, but I mean Ohtani's good enough to get swings and misses for the 75 pitches that he's out there. You look at the team totals tonight, Texas is the second or third lowest on the slate. I know they're cheap and that helps you get Burns on FanDuel, but I think if I was doing that, I'd look to maybe Kansas City or Boston, or even maybe San Francisco as a punt stack before I looked at Texas. I just don't see it with the Rangers tonight.
Okay, great. Jay says FanDuel Cash, Edman or Simeon?
That's close. I go Simeon there though. His price tag's too cheap on FanDuel.
Better FanDuel punt at 2K. You want Brad Miller or my boy Matty Joyce?
What was that cash? Did they specify?
Specify no.
I think I'd lean slightly towards Joyce since he's leading off. I mean, Miller has the same pinch hit risk. That's not that much of conviction behind that, though. They're about the same.
All right, so we'll go to NBAD, FanDuel Cash, Blackmon or Correa in the util. I think you said you liked them both, right?
I do. I'd probably lean towards Blackmon by a nose.
All right, Z said Cash Paddock.
Can you repeat that?
Yeah, it was Burns v. Paddock in FanDuel Cash.
So that's a tough question to answer because there's such a large price difference. There's a $3,600 price difference between Burns and Paddock on FanDuel. I like the builds better with Paddock in them because you can upgrade like 2, maybe even 3 bats by like $1,200. If you did 3 bat, you could upgrade 3 bats by $1,200. That's a substantial difference. When the price, when there's like a 2 or 3 point difference in those pitching projections, and you can upgrade 3 bats with it. So, as much as I love Burns, I think the logical build on FanDuel takes you to Paddock at that salary.
All right, I think I must be getting a little jumpy. I'm getting messages from Devin saying,
"Yeah, you're getting a little
we'll keep
choppy."
It rolling. All right, Trobe says Luis Gurriel in cash.
I like it. Yeah, I'm kind of waiting to see what that full top to bottom Astros lineup looks like. If somebody gets buried in the 8th spot or something because of the guys they've activated, I don't think that'll be the case. I mean, they'll probably hit Maldonado 8th or Miles Straw if he's in there again. So, I've got no problem with Gurriel.
All right. Par just saying, wanted to take a minute to thank you guys. You never get enough credit. First off, thank you. Second, so much credit to Devin for setting this whole mess of a slate up and figuring all this out. I thought just Devin
perfect.
did an
Went off
incredible
without
job
a
today.
hitch.
Yeah, so good job, Devin. All the credit goes to you, man. JQ Mustang says, FanDuel Cash, you want Simeon and Andrew Stevenson or Joyce and Tapia?
Joyce and Tapia.
BHB, DK Cash, Bregman or Arenado?
I think you got to go Bregman and Cash.
Carolina guy says, any love for Buster Posey in a FanDuel GPP?
Only if you're stacking. Outside of a stack, I mean, you don't have to play a catcher. Like on DK, more value where you need to play a catcher. So not really for me. He just doesn't have a ton of pop anymore. I know he homered the first 2 games of the year, but he hasn't homered since. So no Posey for me.
All right. Chili Mac says, wake up, Meansy.
It's about his time.
Huh? What? Huh? Yeah, it's almost time. You got to get warmed up. You got to get ready. You got to get loose.
I'm good. I'm ready to go.
All right, he's ready.
Baseball
he's
stuff over all these late stretches.
Ready.
Let's go. Let's get some NBA going. Come on.
He's chomping at the bit over there. Means you ready to go talk some NBA. By the way, this show is free. I know there's a lot of people watching on YouTube. Do us a favor, since this is free. Hit like, hit subscribe, and then once you realize that these amazing plays that Cards and Means you're giving you, join up. Sign up for Rotogrinders Premium, because we do this show every single day. It's usually not free, but start with a little like and subscribe, and we'll go from there. Where do we go here? Joey Rock, FanDuel Cash, Stevenson and Harrison, or Segura and Joyce?
I'd go the second one in Cash.
All right. Green Bay Stan, DK Cash question for you. Is it Arenado or McMahon?
Ooh, boy. I'd go Arenado there.
All right. I think I'm actually caught up with all the questions. I'm going to hop over real quick. Devin, do you have any questions in the YouTube? I should have pulled that up, but I closed it out. Oh, all right. We'll see if we can maybe pull some questions out of the YouTube as well. And we've got, we've got 2-3 more minutes here until DKGPP one-off Carlson or Soler.
That's an interesting question. Give me Soler. I think both are viable, though.
All right. FanDuel Cash, this is at the util, 3,100 and under, but I already have Bell and DeYoung.
Is that 3,100?
Yeah.
I'd go Simeon there if you don't have him.
Okay, great. Green Bay Stan, one more. DK Cash, 2v2. Real Muto DeYoung v. Story Maldonado.
I'd go the first one.
Okay, Carolina guy says, FanDuel GPP, last piece. You want La Stella or Alberto?
Oh, we're digging deep. I'd go La Stella there.
All right, excellent. Molina or Goldie?
Goldie. I know Molina's been hitting it really, really well, but dude's 38 and he's caught 2,000 games, and he's not going to hit, he's not going to lead the National League in homers. So yeah, give me Goldie. We still don't have a full Houston lineup, by the way. If that happens to break at some point during NBA chat, we can at least just pass along their full lineup.
All right, great. How about Arroyo hitting second? Cards? Any interest there?
Meh, not really.
No, not really. All right. That about closes us out here. We've taken all the questions
right on time.
baseball.
That's perfect.
Yeah, we've got Locke just coming up. So Cards.
My turn to peace and
it
just
is.
hang out.
It is your turn to. Well, you actually, if you want,
you get to leave. Cards.
I can leave.
You can
All right,
actually leave.
I wasn't
Yes.
sure the protocols, and if I, since Meansy had to sit there for 30
I appreciate
minutes.
you at least pretending you want to stay. Everyone else just closes their browser out right away and doesn't want to hang out with us.
Yeah, I mean, I can use whatever excuse you want me to come up with so it sounds better. I do have the golf show tonight, so
There
you go.
You got to
Go
prepare
for that. But
You got to prepare.
that's right. So only request for the people, if the Houston lineup breaks, pass that along throughout the last 30 minutes. Otherwise,
I'm looking for it too. I got 2 of them on my DK lineup, so I'll be looking for it.
All right. Otherwise, I will literally leave.
Okay. All right. Letter cards.
Peace out, guys.
If you watch Cards and you thought, wow, that was incredible, I want to see more of him, he does a golf show every Tuesday night, and that dude is a golf murderer. He was really, really, really excellent giving golf advice. I think it's him and Noto and Tambo is the other. Thank you. So go ahead. You definitely want to check that out. Do we also have Cardstock after lock here? All right, we also have Cardstock after lock, so that is at 6:45 Central. If you are into the sports cards collecting, investing, it's kind of fascinating. But look, means we got all the other stuff out of the way. We get to the good stuff right now. That's the hoops. The hoops, my man. What are we doing here?
Kawhi got rolled out right before you guys got going on the baseball stuff, so I wasn't anticipating that, and I wasn't really anticipating anything, but of course it's NBA, so something happens. And we also just got the Nets starting lineup. They're starting Kyrie, Shamet, Harris, Jeff Green, and DeAndre Jordan, who I tagged on DK now since he's starting. The Hornets are starting Graham, Rozier, Bridges, McDaniels, and Vernon Carey again, who was impressive on, I think it was Sunday, got 2 fouls in 30 seconds, 20 seconds, and then got the whole hook. So
Good
that
job.
was exciting.
That's a me
when
stat line.
him.
That's how I rolled back in high school. Good work.
Yeah, so the Kawhi stuff shook things up a little bit, but not as much as you think, because these guys are also, like, Kawhi was out for I think 4 games, so most of these guys are kind of priced how they were, priced up with the Kawhi being out for that stretch. So it didn't change stuff as much as you would think. I'm okay. Oh, just got the Houston Astros lineup. So let me just read that off real quick. Straw, Brantley, Bregman, Correa, Tucker, Gurriel, Diaz, Maldonado. Now baseball is officially over with this show.
Okay, done.
All right, back to basketball.
Okay.
So cash games on FanDuel. Let's just start talking about it. Kyrie's a definite for me at point guard. And then I think the 2 you're choosing between on at the other spot is probably going to be Cole Anthony, or maybe just paying up for De'Aaron Fox. And I'll throw Terry Rozier's name in the mix there too. That's what I would be choosing between for cash games. Tournament options, I would kind of just take a stab at some of these Knicks guys, like Derrick Rose is 5'8". Maybe Reggie Jackson at 5'5". He doesn't do as good per minute as you would think in this situation, but I think their ceiling is still there. That's really it for me. Oh yeah, I mentioned Trae Young. So Trae Young, he's like priced right in between Kyrie and De'Aaron Fox. I'll throw his name out there for a tournament stab on DK as well. But no, I think when you look at the expensive guys at point guard on this slate, people are going to play Kyrie. Obviously, no Harden or Grant. De'Aaron Fox is in the best game environment on the slate. They have 121 team total. People are probably going to play him next. And then Trae Young's just going to be the odd man out. So Collins is back also. So I think that's just going to make people not want to play him. So I really like him for tournaments on both sides.
Yep, makes sense.
Let's go. Yeah, let's go to shooting guard.
He's watching Steph Curry over there. Steph Curry just dropping like 12 threes a game. And he's like, wait, I can do that. Why not?
I mean, I feel like that's what their GM said when they drafted him. He's like the mini Steph Curry.
Yes, that is exactly what happened.
All right, so shooting guard is where the Kawhi news affects things the most, because Paul George is 9K. I think you play him with McCollum. Really, you're for sure playing one of him or McCollum in cash games, and then if you're not playing both of them, then you're going to be picking from this weird little cheap tier of like Bullock, Kennard, Dwayne Bacon, maybe Bruce Brown. That's what you're doing.
You got a favorite there out of those 4 cheapies?
Out of the cheapies,
Yeah.
I actually kind of like Bullock a little bit. Him and Bacon, kind of scoring, shooting dependent guys. Bullock's going up against the Hornets, who give up, I think, the most threes in the league. So that would probably be my preferred option. I can't say that I want to rush to put money on that call, but
right.
Yeah, and in general, I think in cash games you just play the 2 expensive guys anyway. So
okay,
we'll see as far as what ownership. It looks like we did update it. It looks like PG kind of got up close to McCollum there. So I really do like these cheap guys in tournaments. So it looks like their ownership is deflated now. So let's go to small forward. I tagged Joe Harris, more of just a price play thing. I think the Hornets only have 9 guys, so I do like him in cash games on FanDuel. The price is down. He's up. I think he's up to like 5.9 or 6K on DK. Yeah, 5.9. So no, just a last piece at the best, or I'm sorry, at the best there. I don't really like him on DK. So what you're doing here with him in cash games, I think you're playing one with Powell or Barrett. I prefer Barrett for the especially with the $400 in savings. I'm just very intrigued at what's going on over at the Roth household right now, or
there's a bat. I think there's a bat in our cabin. I'm pretty sure I'm looking at a freaking bat. So
is he the one making that noise, or is that a door?
No, that was a door. Yeah, sorry. I tried to mute it in time, but
everyone else wants to know too. So
that's,
we might as well just talk.
That's going to be fun. So sorry if I was staring. I'm just being attacked by a freaking.
I could make an Office reference there, but you don't watch them, so whatever. All right, so in cash games, I like Barrett with Joe Harris. Looks like our projected ownership has Powell. I'm sorry, I completely misspoke there. I prefer Barrett over Powell. I definitely prefer Harris first. So it looks like our projected ownership has Powell with a much higher ownership. So I'm definitely going Barrett in tournaments there too. And that's kind of where I can end my discussion at small forward. So power forward, this is where things get a little tricky, because you have 2 guys, and I'm sure we're going to get tons of questions on this. Zion and Randall, $400 apart, basically really equivalent plays on this slate. Who do I prefer? Man, I don't know. I would probably play Zion just because this is all factored in, but the game environment's just better. Like Randall has 2 60 burgers in a row. So I wouldn't blame anyone for wanting to play him. If it's my lineup, I'm probably playing Zion. That's really close. And you can play both. You're probably sacrificing maybe like Paul George at shooting guard. So if you're not playing one of those guys, just play Barnes. And I think that's really your 2 of those 3 is your cash game discussion. So when we're looking at tournaments, Blake's not starting anymore. They're starting DeAndre instead. So his projection probably will come down if it hasn't already. I just don't think there's much upside there in tournaments anyways. So I'm trying to think even what to suggest here. I think Chuma Okeke would be my recommendation. He's one of their young guys they're just giving a bunch of minutes to. So I don't think the game log populated from their last game, but he would probably be my guy. We got a ceiling close to 40 there, and he's 5'4", so he would be my guy. And then center, really big decision point here on FanDuel for cash games, because it's really between, in my opinion, it's between Cantor and Whiteside, and they're $100 apart. We are far more aggressive than the industry on his minutes, and it's because if you look at the last 2 games with Nurkic out, it was the 10th and the 6th. He played 37 minutes and he played 36 minutes. So if you go way back when Nurkic was out, there's a stretch of games right around here. I'm not going to dig it all up. Sometimes Stotts closed with him. Sometimes Stotts didn't close with him. But these most recent 2, since Nurkic's been back, they close with Cantor. And now Dame's also out. That's one less guy that Stotts is I feel comfortable closing.
You can count on.
So
yes. Yeah, exactly.
So it could happen. I think they even did it last game, but that was with Nurk playing. And Nurk's kind of on this soft minutes limit. So I don't know. I feel really good about being aggressive on his minutes, because even if you I think we had him at 30. Let's put him at 31. I think we had him at 30 earlier. Let's say you put him at 31. He's still the best value. So I say you play him in cash games. I don't know if this. We have Whiteside at 6%. That's who you're playing in tournaments. I'll just say that. I still really like Cantor, but if you believe that to be true, then Whiteside is your easy tournament pivot. And even then, even if you think Whiteside's going to be more highly on than that, then Noel's your tournament pivot. So you have 3 guys right in that same range, and then obviously Cat's right here. If you just want to do a completely different bit, like everybody is going to be playing, I think, is going to be jamming in Cantor in the Whiteside range, and they're like optimal builds, which means no one's going to play Cat either. So that's what you're doing if you want to get different on FanDuel.
Okay, let's talk about Cat real quick. Green Bay Stan says, why is Cat projected for 36 when he hasn't played above 26 his last 2? Did something come out about him no longer being on a minutes restriction? Was he on a minutes restriction, or was that just a random foul trouble?
Blowouts, foul trouble. Never like always take the extra step to like go look at what happened. So like we'll just real quick just use this as something to look at. So like this was hold on, let me take it to the 16th first. I'm pretty sure he picked up his third. He picked up his third right here. So there's whatever that is. What's that? 4 or 5 minutes out off. Then he lost another 2 here. So there's 2. There's like what, 7 or 8 minutes. Next game, blowout, and then he hurt his knee right here. He like had a knee to knee, he said, not even on the injury report. So apparently it's not a concern.
Yeah.
But right here, he lost 9 minutes. So like,
okay. All right, there you go. That's it. You answered.
Yeah, just take the extra. Always take the extra step. Don't always look at the game logs. There's always usually stuff, and we have like we should. I mean, you could make an argument he should be at like 34 maybe, but yeah. But yeah, don't worry about him getting minutes, assuming the game stays close and his knees.
Exactly. Yeah, and he doesn't get in foul trouble again. By the way, Menace, just quickly and kindly pointing out, it is Okiki, not Okeke.
Oh, I appreciate getting corrected. Don't even think I've said his name on the show before, so
I thought you,
right.
Yeah, I thought you like butchered something and said something wrong when you mentioned his name. I was like, oh, that was a person. So, all right,
should have said Chuma.
Yeah, yeah, almost at it. Okay, we get to talk DK now, right? I'm so lost in this slate that I don't even know what's happening, but I think so.
This slate's difficult on DK, and it opened up. I think things got slightly easier with Jordan starting, but I actually want to start at center on DK because this was actually a kind of a decision point for me on DK also, because I think I need to refresh this because I don't think his minutes have been updated. I was basically looking at playing, even before Jordan was announced as starting, I was looking at playing of 2 of 3 of him, Whiteside and Cantor, just because I really liked the build. Just those were some of the best like mid-tier salary leaf plays, because like we'll talk about some really, really thin ones that you just kind of have to play at other positions. So like I do like Jordan. I like playing one of Cantor or Whiteside in the other spot, and I do prefer Cantor like in the util. So just keep that in mind as I'm going through all this. That's really it for cash game discussion for centers only. We'll talk about others. So let's jump back to point guard, and I'll close it out by talking tournament plays at center as well. So I think Kyrie's definitely the guy here. Projections agree. I'm just going to real quick just look at the whole slate of these players. There's just a really good tier of guys below him and technically above him with Cat. But like now Paul George is in the equation. You have Paul George at 9.4, Fox at 9.8, Zion at 9.7, Randall at 10.1. Those guys are, I think, really good cash game plays tonight. And I think I'm leaning towards George being that guy. He has like also this little beef with, if you remember the bubble, you remember the Blazers and Clippers beef from when like Day missed free throws, I think, and the Clippers were talking trash to him, and then
they were waving.
P went out.
Yeah.
Then playoff P went out early, and then McCollum and Dame were clowning him on Twitter. So I mean,
yes.
I don't know. I don't know if that means anything because I think Paul George is kind of soft, but we'll see if he reacts well in this game tonight. But I'm going to try playing in cash games. Yeah.
I feel like the narrative around him is that he's soft. So maybe like he's trying to step up and like, yeah, I'm going to come at you because, everyone knows he's soft as hell.
We shall see. Yeah, but Kawhi's out, so we like him. And then anyways, let's get back to point guard. So like guys I'm considering cash games for at point guard. Fox at the high end, like McCollum is shooting guard, has shooting guard eligibility. You can get those guys. I do prefer Paul George or Zion in general to those guys. So you're probably not getting them in cash games. So like cheaper guys, and I'll just include shooting guard in this like I normally do. So like Anthony Simons, Dwayne Bacon has shooting guard eligibility. Kennard, Shamet, those guys are just kind of fringy plays that just make sense on this slate. So shooting guard, you can put like, I think Simons has it. Yeah, Simons has it. Bruce Brown has point guard eligibility, who I think you can also put him in like the guard spot. So those are just kind of guys for cash games you're probably going to be needing. If you're not, if you're going Paul George here, then you're going to use one of those guys in the guard spot probably. Let's look at some tournament stuff. Let's look at the ownership here. So same as Trae Young at 20%. That's something I would like. I mean, I gotta say McCollum here at 18%. He's the lowest of Kyrie, Paul George, Fox, Trae Young, all these guys. So I think McCollum's got to be your guy here. And another guy I want to point out is Russell. I would play him in cash games actually. They said Finch said that his minutes limit is basically upwards of 30. So we're taking that and to mean he's not going any higher than 30 minutes. Good matchup, man. Like the guy gets him up. He's still coming off the bench, but the guy gets him up when he's out there. So I actually think he does have some tournament viability, even with that minutes limit, because I think he can get you 45 DK points a night. And that's one of those things where if he's going well, they probably let him play a few more minutes than they intended to. So that's kind of tournament thoughts. Let's talk about small. Yeah, go ahead.
Real quick before you do that, I just want to let everyone know, if you're thinking, why am I not on Discord anymore? What happened? Discord apparently is down, or at least Rotogrinders Discord, whether it's just ours or all of Discord, I don't know. But we're going to pivot over to the YouTube chat. So if you go to the Rotogrinders homepage and just click the video tab, you should be able to access, you should be able to get it right there. You can ask your questions there. And once we get into questions, we will be answering them there. So it means continue.
Good call to get ahead of the curve on that one while I finish up all this other stuff. All right, so small forward, power forward. So again, not a lot to really like here. You're most likely, like I have both of these positions filtered on here, and there's, as you can see, there's just not a lot. Like again, I like Zion. I'm not as high on Norm as our projections are. I don't think I will play him in cash games. I'm not going to argue with anyone who does. I personally don't think I'm going to play him. I just haven't really landed there either. It's more like I'm getting these 9K guys I like, and I'm filtering it in. I'm getting these two centers, two of the three centers I like, and then I'm filtering in with like the 4K guys. So I haven't really personally landed on Norm myself. So like for small forward, you have Bruce Brown you can put there. You have Dwayne Bacon you can put there. That's actually, honestly, Bullock, I think he's like kind of a last piece. Marcus Morris, those guys are very much in play in cash games, in my opinion. And most of those guys are small forward, but Marcus Morris is power forward, which is another reason why I kind of do like Zion too. It's because power forward's weak, man. Like I think you can just plug him in there and be fine with it. And if you don't have Paul George, that's cool. Zion's a walking 50 points, so I would be good with that. Trying to think if I'm missing anything else as the dogs go absolutely crazy upstairs. PJ Washington is someone, they're talking about playing him more at center, even though they just said they're starting Vernon Carey. So like he's only 19% projected ownership. He crushed last game. Let's see if it's not picking it up. I don't know why our game logs aren't picking this stuff up. I think he had like 40 plus fantasy points. I'm pulling it up on my other screen here. Yeah, he had 46 FanDuel points. So I really like him for tournaments. Julius Randle, let's see where he is projected at. He is at 16%, like 260 burgers in a row. Like what I really like doing is I think, sure, people may play one of Zion, people may play one of Randle. I think in general, the guards are going to go much higher on the McCollums, Kyrie's, George, Fox. Like playing both Randle and Zion, I think in the same lineup, even though there's like not any correlation there. I really think that is a good way to be a little different because I don't think people are going to play both of those guys.
And they've got the upside, you think?
Oh yeah, I think they do for sure. We got them with 60-point ceilings, and like when you look at the slate in general, like Kyrie is basically topping that at 75, and Cat's kind of close. So like they basically have what I will call the second highest ceiling on the slate, or third highest ceiling. So I think they do. And raw points will matter a little bit on this, anyways. And I think the position sucks is the main thing. Like you can just beat. At power forward, you can beat a lot of other lineups if these people are playing
garbage plays that don't work out.
Marcus Morris, who gets you 24 DK points or something like that. So
yeah,
I think that's the way to go for tournaments. And center, I'll just close out. I mentioned the 2 of the 3 I want in cash games: Jordan, Cantor, or Whiteside. Let's just take a quick look. Cat, that ownership is a little higher than I would like, so I'm not going to take a stand on him. I think it's Randall again. I'll mention Noel again. I'll mention Chuma again. Those are the guys I'm kind of looking at. We'll see if Jordan's ownership spikes like on another refresh or something. But the fact that he's starting, like we saw him start, what was that? I think it was that the game against Philly, I think? Let's see if our game logs are catching that one. Yeah, it was a game against, he played 26 minutes at 40 DK points. Like the dude produces when he's out there. So I really like the ceiling on him. If that ownership sticks for the next 5 minutes or whatever, then that's the guy. So I think we might want to hit some questions if we are able to.
I think we should. Also, speaking of hitting things, you should hit that like and subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube, because this is free premium content that you're getting. And honestly, it's not just premium, it is stellar. It is fantastic content brought to you by Mr. Andy Means. Also, if my internet's been a little bit, I'm in a cabin, there's a bat. If the internet goes out, Devin, just boot me and take the questions, and don't feel guilty about it. Just literally kick me right out. It's fine. Let's go to Morningwood Blues. He says, Herder on DK. That got weird now that I read his name again. I thought it was a jazz name, but the more I read it, I'm like, that's uncomfortable. Anyways, Herder on DK for a GPP.
Sure.
William Hominy says DK Cash, Zion Simons, or George and Bacon.
Yeah, I kind of like the George Bacon one better.
The H Train, DK Cash, Marcus Morris, PJ Washington.
If that was a Marcus Morris, PJ Washington, either or, I would pick Marcus Morris.
It was. Love this question from Bill Walsh on DK Cash. He says, I can jam in Paul George, Fox, and Kyrie, but I need a stone min to do it. You okay with a 3K Metu, or do I have to redo what I need to do?
That just feels way too thin to me, but if you like it, go for it. I'm not doing that.
All right. It does look like Discord is back, so I'm taking questions from there and the YouTube chat. Jay in the Discord says FanDuel Cash, Barrett over Powell.
Yeah, I mean, if you have the money, it's kind of close. I found the 400 useful, and it also like gets you up to Zion, which might be a popular question. So let me make sure I have my facts right on that one. Yeah, like if it's Barrett, Zion, or Randall, Powell, I would do Zion, Barrett, but man, it's close.
Okay, great. Actually, all caught up on all the questions in both locations. The bat, he's just chilling there, like upside down, like bats do, just waiting. And eventually, he's gonna.
Do you think that's Derek Carty in your cabin right now?
It may be. It is. It may be Carty. Yahoo, can you get Andy's thoughts on Herder and Brown versus Shamit? That seems like two guys versus one guy. Can you get your thoughts on Herder and Brown versus Shamit? Thank you.
I like Brown of the bunch. I don't know where the Herder part comes in. I think I had Brown tagged earlier in the day, even though he's not starting. They have like 3 guards, and he just does a little bit more than Shamit. Shamit's just very, 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 very shooting dependent. So I kind of prefer Brown.
All right. Tristan Robinson says, DK Cash, you cooking up some bacon or you're going with Kennard?
I am cooking with some bacon right now.
I like it. Chris Collins, DK GPP, Shamit Mello v. Brown Simmons.
GPP, I would do the first one.
All right. Hit up this Discord. All right. Any interest in Harkless and FanDuel Cash?
Not really, no.
Okay. Marshall in a FanDuel GPP. Who the hell's Marshall?
Najee Marshall, yeah, because James Johnson is out, so he's actually a really good tournament play now that I think about it, yeah.
Okay. GD says Rose or Brown, DK GPP?
Rose.
Thoughts on Ingram?
Tournaments.
Thoughts on John Collins? Cheap price on DK.
I haven't seen anything about what they're doing with his minutes. I think they kept him around 20 last time, so kind of not a huge fan.
Griffin, 3,700 in the util, DK Cash, and I already have Simons.
Who is it?
He's got 3,700 left at the util, and he already has Simons.
My bad. Let me look here. I'll try to hurry up here. Yeah, 3,700 in the util. Kennard's too much. That's no one.
Yeah, and that's bad hosting. Yeah. I shouldn't have asked that question at the end on the crunch time. That's you know what? That's my fault. That's on
There's
me.
a bat in your house. It's all right. To answer the question, I'd probably just say just trust these projections and say Okoji maybe, but I would honestly try to get out of that.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. Yep. That's me. Says, hey, to reiterate, by the way, we hit the lock. Did you find this to be wildly informative? I did.
Yes.
If you did also, you should hit like, subscribe, and you should sign up for Rotogrinders. This is what we do.
We got a deal going too. The 5 for 5 thing.
The 5 for 5, it's $5 for 5 days of premium content, which is just stupid. That's silly. You're going to make all your money back and then you're going to sign up forever. So go ahead. Sign up for the 5 for 5. Devin, can you put that in the YouTube chat?
Probably already did. He's probably way ahead of us.
He is, man. He's so good. We're blessed. It was already there. He's killing it. Means to reiterate, you like Morris over PJ Washington, DK Cash?
Slightly. I don't have a strong feel on it, to be honest, but if it's my lineup, I would play Morris over PJ Washington, yes.
Okay. Mango Man says Kennard and a FanDuel GPP. You like Kennard. You like Kennard. Yep. You do.
Yep.
Yeah. Jack, FanDuel Cash. You like Paul George or one of Randall or Zion?
Yeah, I would do Paul George, and then I think you can easily get Paul George, McCollum at shooting guard, and then one of those power forward spin-ups with Barnes. I think that's what you do.
Honey, is it a bat? Is that what you're looking at? Oh, well, that's not nearly as scary. Okay. I think we're good. Guys. GD says Barnes or Edwards in a DK GPP?
Edwards, for sure.
DK GPP. Any love for Steven Adams a FanDuel GPP? Any love for Steven Adams?
Not really, just because I think he's right around where all those other guys are, and he's more expensive. Like, we have his ceiling at 36 and he's 6K, so I don't really see much. So I think that's I think that's about it. We should probably close it. We got a show next, right?
Yes, absolutely. We actually took every single question
boom
from both chats. So bam, we nailed it. We did the things we needed to do. Means, why don't you say goodbye to the people?
Goodbye to the people and goodbye to the bat that Roth is hanging out with.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Hey guys, we appreciate you. We love you. Thank you for hanging out with us. Again, smash that like button, subscribe, and join Rotogrinders Premium, because it's like this, only usually there's not a special guest. We appreciate you. We love you. We will catch you tomorrow. You have been crunched.